7-map pool. You got 4 that get banned out. Ban, pick as our final decider. We got our first one out. Clubhouse, Team 1, and second is Coast, removed by MIBR. Ollie, can you carry us through this beginning?
Well, these two teams have played against each other a good amount of times. Obviously, they're in the same region. They're going to know what one another likes. Team 1 there are going to come in with that Villa pick. And Kafe is going to be the pick for MIBR. Now, Villa is statistically MIBR's worst map, which is no real surprise as to why Team 1 have leaned into it fairly quickly there, it being their first pick. Kafe, on the flip side, while it isn't statistically a great map for MIBR, depending on how far back you look, it can actually be a good map for them, because Kafe has been adopted into Brazil. It's been a map that sort of pseudo-replaced Consulate in a lot of ways when Consulate was removed, and it's a good map here for MIBR. They've got good recent success on there.
Yeah, and they were really the first team, I think, to actually have a try at Kafe. And then there goes the rest of the veto. Shaliban from Team 1, the last time they played against each other, MIBR beat them on Shally, so probably a bit of a safe ban going in for Team 1, and then Bank also for MIBR. And that leaves us with a decider of Oregon, which is a bit of a surprise, because Oregon strikes me as that's a Team 1 map. They love going to Oregon. Alamo with the shotgun, the Ella shotgun, that is a combo for success.
Hey, that's something that, they could use up as, this is the third map. We could be more comfortable on it in this stage. It'd be something that would slip through the nets of MIBR that had the last week to prepare coming up to here, and of course not having played in day 1. Thank you very much, though, Ollie and Demo. There is nothing more left to say except for getting into the game. That is our Brazilian game. It's all Team 1, all MIBR, and we got Fluke, and I don't know, you guys are here. Who else will be with her? Toss it to game. Enjoy.
Hi, you've got to get here now. There's a game on. It's Team 1 MIBR. He's made it. He's finally here. After 2 days, and you've struggled to put on your headset
on. It's
Hi, I'm Fluke. This is Hap. You may not have seen him the past 2 days because he just wasn't here.
I wasn't. I was here. But
yeah, you were in your hotel room watching from a faraway distant land. Yes, he has returned. Is it because this is going to be a banger? Probably, but it's also going to be a banger, and that's the main thing. MIBR, Team 1, 2 teams that know each other, which in this tournament, it's so rare to have 2 teams that actually have a history together that's a common league history go against each other.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting to see. Milos just said it before as well. It's not just them playing online now, it's also on land. Turns it into an even more aggressive game, potentially, with a lot of swings and everything coming in. It's going to be exciting to see what Villa, the first map, will bring, and of course every other map after as well. I don't expect this to be a clean 2-0. I expect this to go a little bit further than that. And who would I be if I wouldn't have done the stats? There's group probabilities, and Team 1 is currently in that better position. MIBR is currently fighting a potential getting grouped spot. So they do need to pick up some points here today.
It's risky. One team gets grouped. It is this possibility of disaster, and you really don't want to be the only name that's on the board of, oh man, we got grouped. So at this point, you've got to be able to try and put some fight into this, because obviously Team 1 haven't had the cleanest run. They've sort of had this mixed journey. They had the early day loss against Damwon Kia. They're obviously storming to a fantastic performance so far. Yep. So this could be a precious moment to pull points against a team that, well, you're probably nowhere near as practiced on.
For sure. And I'm just quickly looking back over what the groups have brought us for Villa in both these teams. Only Team 1 has played it. They've won it once, 7-4. Then they have lost it once for 2-7. So mixed results. Whereas MIBR hasn't gotten to the pleasure yet to actually play the map. So we'll get to see as the bans are swiftly going through. Gotta get those noted down.
Get them numbers.
Get them numbers. I already messed up my notes. There we go. All right.
You've been here a day.
You've
been here 1 day. You've made 1 note, and you've messed it up.
And I've messed it up. It does happen every now and then.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess you did just run in.
Yeah, I literally you just call me in now. Like, why didn't you call me in an hour beforehand?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It would have been so much easier for me to go in.
Unlike me, who has been on this desk for at least an hour already.
Exactly. No, totally not a photo shoot.
And he's out of breath because I ran from a photo shoot that Bartosz, the meme machine, wanted us to do. Hey, here we are in Villa. Let's have a quick look at these bans. Valkyrie, yeah, that's going to be banned. Wamai, it limits the play, but the Buck and the Finker, that is a little bit more of a point of curiosity. Obviously, Buck is a huge drive, especially in the hands of Team 1. Getting in and getting underneath and sort of playing on those positions. And as we said before, these two teams know each other so well. If you are ever going to have the most specific bans, it is always going to be against two teams that know each other. And everybody does prep. But there is a big difference between prep and a big difference between playing each other week in, week out. There's stuff that just won't be hidden. There's stuff that has sort of passed on, and as we all know, the Latin American region is so familiar with each other. They're so friendly with each other, massively supportive scene of each other. They know each other, and that is a Buck and a Finker bet.
They definitely have been, indeed. And it's kind of beautiful to see as well, whereas, you know, when way back in the meantime, when North America and the EU were at the top of Siege, suddenly Liquid won a game, won a tournament, and now this year has been completely owned by the Brazilians, mostly the Latam region.
It's been a good,
it's been a good year for them, right?
Been a good year.
A good last 12 months. They have been basically. I think they have five finalists out of this.
5 of the 6.
Yeah,
right.
finals.
5 of the 6.
Pretty
in a
good.
final with them. The only team to break that mold was Empire in Mexico, and otherwise it has been entirely. Obviously, we didn't have the main major.
No, because it was the Six Invitational.
But there was a handful of Latin American teams that were qualified for it. So
for sure. Either way, we are getting on the way. The first round, grenades already being tossed in to get rid of Banshee, just to make sure that later on in the round, they don't have to deal with that utility. But a big worry here will be those mirror windows that have been placed, of course, on the AVG side. Will make it a little bit more difficult to take study under control and will force you to basically have control from the laundry and from the classical hall as well if you want to deny those mirror windows. Of course, verticality is an option you could go for if you want to get rid of them. Just open it from below, get a ping, for example, that you will be able to guide from. This main push seems to be coming down on the main stairs first.
yeah, he doesn't feel confident playing that too tightly, and he's just going to pull back so he has the double gun stacked up on the opposite side. The Candelas, they go far and go deep, and they need to be combined with a little bit of peer pressure, but the pressure is enough for Falls. Falls back, but the smoke canister. He is a fantastic smoke player, something we commented on before, but he's not going to be any further in this round. Taken from that verticality, the grenades underneath. Who needs a buck if you can just go and take them care of them like that? Luke gets one back, so they try and swing up the stairs. They've just retweeted. Got out of there before they get anything else from that swing up the main stairs. It's a bit of territory under their control, but with the loose play on the backside of Red, it still has a lot left to do for Team 1 here.
They're on that 4-on-4, Team 1, taking the staircase under control now, taking care of the Goyo shields as well, which will waste some time, but better do that now than when you're starting to struggle. Alamau still below. The mirror windows are only just being opened up here by a set of Excaros, which will give a little bit more freedom into the aviator room and create a direct line of sight as well into the gun vault, which suddenly makes that position a lot harder to play. As KDS is still trying to challenge here on the classical hull, they need a pick here on the side of Team 1. They need to open up at one of these sites to continuously flood into it.
Now, that's the curiosity. Team 1, what are you going to do to try and pull some of these other players away? You've been able to get an early bite, but as we said, outside of that, there's still a lot left to do. You can't just swing into bar and billiards and hope for the best. And as I said, the point of pressure is probably going to be here, top red. Lagonis and KDS get into an exchange with Alamau being the first to actually stop somebody progressing. Maybe they did just try and force their way through, and suddenly it's worked. Lukin is the only one left, but not for very long. Team 1 take a blinding first round.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said they're probably not going to do that. That's exactly what they did. All four players towards the classical hall, managing to pick up, well, 3 kills as a result, only 1 being traded out by the side of MIBR, and that leaves us with a very convincing first round here on Team 1. They realized that, you know, they had to push all from one direction. The bar was their best opportunity due to those 4 walls being located next to the door, create some extra angles, which you can use to slowly cut out the side if you approach them from the north and the south. Now, that is going to be the first round for Team 1 as well. You know, they're already favored in terms of group standings, are looking to repeat what they did before. They want to make it to the playoffs, preferably not by a tiebreaker matchup, as we've seen before from them against Cyclops. That was heartbreaking for APAC, but what a story was written by Team 1 that day.
I think that's it, though. It sort of sits as a story. It sits as a tale. And you want to have these retold. You want to have them rebuffed here, and it didn't start so cleanly for Team 1 in this tournament. They didn't have the best go-in against Damwon Kia, and again, it's a great team to be up against. Two early tournament favorites, but a 2-0, and I think they themselves are sort of like, we haven't quite been able to dip into this as much as possible, bringing it back for better performances, and here, this could be a very important one. Just sort of solidify themselves as, you know, the top Brazilian team or the top Latin American team from this group, because it's that conversation, isn't it? It's that story. They're the best of this group. Then they're the best of, well, the playoffs bracket. And then they're the best in the world. It grows and grows and grows. Invitational isn't a major, it's above that. It's a bigger story. And for that, you've got to be a bigger team.
They named themselves the world champions after winning the major, but we all said no. That title is only given away during the Six Invitational, of course. And yes, it is a worldwide competition, but these are world championships. And this is where every team works up towards, because it's that 3 million prize pool, as well as, of course, the K-Bird, the big trophy that everybody is looking out for. And as Team 1 had a very good first start, and it is Neskin now in the basement, looking through some of these hatches, hoping that he might pop someone off guard. As Alamar bringing that Twitch, potentially as a counter, of course, towards a Mira, which is not there currently.
Waiting patiently for somebody to potentially fall for the trap here, as they've got some angles, but this is another patient wait. And that one nets a better result. Rap's gone. Once again, Team 1 have been able to get this opening kill, and that one was entirely by surprise. Just dug in underneath the hatch, caught them on a bit of a slip past, and, well, suddenly they've got to see if they can try and reconvene. But look at this, Team 1. One of my favorite things about them is they never really stop moving. They always keep themselves active. Although they can play the patient holds like that, it's only the work that's being done of the rest of the players putting pressure on, moving and manipulating the space that forces the catch and the kill. Here, instantly up to the top of red. They're going to see if they can get some damage done, by the sounds of it, onto the bedroom windows as well, and they're just trying to solidify that little bit on the statuette area as an angle and an idea of a push.
For sure, and KDS now trying to make an entrance happen as Levy already up on that top floor, but the side is not going to be trophy statuary. It's down in the kitchen, so they have about 70 seconds left to make some work happen now. Most of the gadgets upstairs have been taken care of, but it's not the eventual objective. They need to work their way down. They need to get some verticality on the board now, and it's exactly where Neskin will come in with that sledgehammer, just to try and make sure that the default positions of these defenders are, well, rendered unplayable, or if they might be able to pick up a kill or two out of it, as one gets spotted just swiftly rotating out with an archer to be tossed in response.
Philippox is sort of trying to keep his, I guess, options available. He's moving towards the side of white. He's making sure that he's on that split there down on China too. He isn't quite sure where it's coming from above because, well, that's this side. It's this unfortunate and uncomfortable situation of a lot of soft above, but with those hefty brick beams that separate some of the sight lines from each other. There is some manipulation of the play space to be had, but you also know not where you're being caught from. Philippox is back in. Caught in a drone, back towards China, back towards another explosion above him, but only 10 seconds, and Team 1, they've got to try and find a way to muscle themselves in onto the site behind the chassis. Revealed by the bulletproof, and Luca and Neskin find one apiece. It's sprayed down onto the astronomy stairs on the backside. Lagonis is going to see if he can stick it. It's just a bit of bravery. It's one, not quite enough. Doesn't have the second in the pocket to get the kill. Waits for the attempt on the pop-up. Had to. Round the backside, it's suddenly a 3 versus 1 KDS. Trapped in a little bit of a corner. He has nowhere else to go. He knows they know where he are, and he's just going to see if he can stick it. Cannot. MIBR, they battle back.
1v3 retake coming down there in the end, or rather a 3v3 retake turned into a 1v3. Nothing really that could have been done there. They left it till quite late. 30 seconds when the execute started happening, grenade sailed in, but they also took some losses as a result. And, you know, when the bulletproof cam is still up, they know exactly where you are. They know one is out inside of the laundry as well. They know one is a memorial. And you can have the greatest opening there, which is a free kill given to you. If you leave it till that late before you actually take the side control, there is, of course, that utility available on the defender's side to try and stop it from happening. And that's exactly what they did, just to draw it back up to equal score here. MIBR managed to stop that attack from Team 1. Now we'll be going back to Aviator Games. They just won Kitchen, which, according to many, might be an offside. So they have to bring it back to the primaries.
changes might become a bit of a conversation here as we look to see what gets changed up. Ying is off the board. It was Six picked out before as well, and it's sort of that idea of a bait of a play that we've talked about by teams that know each other well, but the Flores is going to be a heavy drive here. No mute. Nothing to stop it apart from just paying a little bit of attention, and you look towards those stairs, you look towards the previous double shield setup that they had at the top of the main stairs and then halfway up, and suddenly you're in a conversation where those, if that's the same way around, might be able to drop them. Then you're looking at the consistency of the Banshees, the ADSs. It's a lot for Alamau to potentially be able to just take out of here, whilst you have some often relative safety, because you're looking at the cross windows from Study, you're looking for the pressure coming up the bottom of the stairs, or 90, or wherever they decide to throw those Roteros. They're usually going to be able to hit their mark.
They definitely are. It's a very viable operator. It's such a good gadget as well. And we heard Alem say it when he just got released. This might be the strongest operator in the game currently if played right, because there is 4 pieces of utility you can get rid of, or you can create rotations, or you can force players out of their stronghold position, potentially walking right into your trap. And as Neskin again using the same grenade to get rid of the Banshee for a later push, it is now Team 1, well, not struggling, but again going step by step on their plan to try and take control of the site and everything surrounding it.
Now, this is where I expected the Flores to make his ingress drive those drones up the stairs, but it's also Alamau, who's probably going to see if he can try and find some fights beforehand. A couple of C4s in pockets and with those Kaid claws, but we've also got to look at those grenades that might be used in the reverse push.
Mirror window was about to be opened up, but just got denied actually by a Electro Claw that got deployed late, so that keeps them at least with that under control for now. It seems that still the main push needs to be coming down from the main stairs. They want to take control of that, but Lukid has just fallen back to help Files, who was out there already, and this is what you see. That's the zoning that comes in from the Rotero. That forces them out of position. They're now both on the top floor there. KDS takes a lot of damage, but he needs to continue fighting. He's fighting an uphill battle here and will be taken out by Lukid.
That was it. It was the hold down from inside the site towards the bottom of the stairs. Picked up most of KDS's health on the way through. Alamau had to stop to try and watch it to make sure no one re-peeked, but in the meantime, he's lost his body on the site itself. He's suddenly in this very tricky situation where, I'm entirely in the midst of everybody's mix. I'm entirely caught out here. It was a fantastic read by MIBR, a 5-1. Neskin, the only player left, hadn't found his way properly inside the building. He's handed a freebie, but at this point, with a minute on the clock, 4 more bodies.
Oh, what a shot.
3 more bodies to get rid of. It's still a very different situation where if they don't want you to have this round, MIBR, you're probably not going to have this round, Neskin.
No, MIBR has just thrown 2 bodies at him, trying to lock it off a little bit earlier, but unfortunately not able to do that. Neskin, able to, or unable to die, seems. Hasn't taken a single point of damage here for now, and he's trying to make it happen. It's still possible. 37 seconds left on that clock. It's plenty of time for him to work with. However, all MIBR members are about to be lining up here. He's going to take 3 gunfights in one go, but he doesn't check the left corner, and Raps finishes it off, and MIBR now in the lead.
That was it. From what seemed a little cautious approach, they very quickly stepped into this game. This is, for them, a standard game. In that, however many times you say it, they know each other. They know that they can sort of set up this mantle across the other sites. It's not the same element or beast as being entirely unprepared, or at least cautiously prepared for every team's approach and attack. You know, they can knock one off, they can brush one off and go back to it, and they know how to read each other very, very well. Trophy Statuary is where we're going to head to next. We're going to finally see a third site with a slight different rotation. Lukid off to a scream of a start here, 7-2.
Yeah, a really good start there indeed. And I just wanted to mention, for a while, it was actually Files alone on those main stairs. 3 members on the side of Team 1 right around him, but they didn't know that he was out there alone. And of course, it is still the smoke, so if they would have pushed, smoke canisters would have been tossed out and it would have been slowed down. But as soon as the support came in, that's the moment when Team 1 wanted to push. That's when they got locked out and they weren't able to progress any further. And that is how MIBR managed to basically lock off that round. Just pick up most of the kills there, not lose anybody as a response. And now they find themselves in Trophy Statuary with a round lead here on Villa, which is, historically speaking, defense-sided. However, with the meta lately, it's starting to shift more towards an equal balance, which means that a 3-3 is not unlikely.
Team 1, Twitch, now in the pockets of Alamau, changes and changes a piece.
Nitro.
Yeah, there's a attempt at a Neskin fishing, but Lagonis has the drone. He's got it fully revealed, and Well, it's going to be a grenade or a C4 that tries to hit each other, but they're waiting for the throw. They wanted to see if they could just shoot it out of the air and just get rid of the problem.
Mira was on the bed actually, so the drone wouldn't have spotted it. Just have given the sound cue, hey, there is a C4 that just got ripped, so be careful, Neskid. That's exactly what he did. He didn't instantly go for the rappel. He's waiting for something to fly out that window, but didn't know exactly where he was, so the grenade was not going to be coming out. And what you see now inside of Team 1 is just trying to take control of places in the building elsewhere. You see LML repelled up on the 90 window just to try and potentially challenge the classical hall later on if the need is there. See some members out down towards the south as well, trying to take control. And as Reps is the first to fall, it's LML that yet again gets a kill.
They've been very good at getting the opener. It's just seeing if they can try and find a way to solidify it. There's 3 of them that have fallen to their favor, and outside of the surprise strike on the double down on AVG, it's otherwise been pretty clean takes here for Team 1. They've been able to sort of isolate a singular player, get rid of them, and then they, as we said, pick up sticks. They rebuild and remodel their approach here. There's obviously the reveal on the shield, but nobody's behind it. However, down the red stairs, as the drone came round, caught it, up the bottom, and they're able to get the trade out at least. There's one more affray and a smoke canister, and Philippebox.
Did he drop
How
a grenade?
deep do these stairs go?
I didn't drop the grenade there. I was afraid for a second that he would have dropped it. It would have been the death afterwards. But Lagona's already on the side. Elamau still drops, and that leaves us in a 2-on-2 situation. The shotgun comes around the corner. Files picks up the first kill. Lagona's now needs to get the kill, but at the moment he looks away to check Astro. He gets a shotgun shell to the face as well, and that is going to be the loud Brazilians out there.
Okay, so let me give a bit of context about how the teams are set up. If you've not, because obviously there's not a full reveal, everyone is a distance away from each other, but they're in little closed off spaces. So the 2 desks of players can see each other. If you happen to guess by how they are gesturing and posturing towards the Team 1 desk, which is off to their left-hand side, they're at slight angles.
They are.
They're obviously, all the teams are kept separate for safety and regulations.
Many meters away.
But they can see each other, and you know they can hear each other because we can hear them, and we're 200 feet away.
Yeah, for sure. You know, when they just started out, you heard the chants, and I instantly thought about the social media tweet about can the players stop making animal noises and just trying to prep here. I felt the same in that case. It was so loud, and it's good. It definitely works up their morale, that's for sure. MIBR now 3-1 up in the lead, are looking to make this a good first half for them. They already have the 3 rounds that we talked about before. They now need to try and find 2 more. Just to try and lock it off as early as they possibly can. I mean, we've had a very quick first 2 games on both the A and the B stream. MIBR is trying to take some inspiration from that book and probably wants to lock it off as soon as they possibly can as well to put them in a better position for groups, because they are at that bottom half of it right now. And, you know, top 4 continues, but you don't want to be ending in that 5th place. That is... No, you don't want that.
Now, one statistical anomaly that I think it's always worth bringing up is in terms of attack rates and defense rates.
Yeah.
In international play over the past year, generally, mixed games, so mixed region games, attacks have been preferential regardless of the map on a general scale. You're looking at more positive splits towards attacks, unless it is the same region game where defense has been the shift because of familiarity, because of whatever reasons. Either way, expect to get more traditional values or expectations from the round wins from this game. So MIBR pulling a 4-2 on their defense on Villa, that's kind of standard. A 3-3 or a 4-2 is how it usually goes. So it's how much energy they can build up. If they can push themselves to a 5-1, if they can keep this solidity and keep a handle on Team 1's opening map here, they can really push the mind game heading into Kafe.
Philippebox is downstairs using the Electroclaw actually to try and trick any potential heart breach that's coming through. He's doing that successfully for now as Levy, I believe, was that a Capcan trap he walked through? I definitely think so. He's taking quite a bit of damage here, but it doesn't seem like they're aware of the fact that he's out here and he's going to be able to at least spot 1, tries to go for the kill, but they've all fallen back already to the sides, and 100 seconds left, he still manages to get the first kill, Levy.
Luke had gone, that is a huge person off the board. That is a huge player who's obviously been the most consistent in finding fights and winning them throughout this game so far. Big work on big holds. Is the C4 going to get catched? Do they have a full read, or is it just a sort of chance? They're close enough, and they're waiting for the first sledges. Nothing as of yet. It is. Well, something explodes somewhere else. Yeah, there it is. There it goes. No blow.
was going to say, I was probably waiting for Neskin to start working on the verticality, as that, of course, is his main priority. And whilst he continues to do so, we have Philipox hiding actually on these red stairs. He's hoping to find a player that is descending the stairs, but instead it's Alamau that will be on the hunt. He entered all the way on the southern side of the building, knows exactly where he is, and as Redux takes a small amount of damage, it's Alamau that will lock off yet another kill. Team 1 are looking to be in a good position right here with Redux going down as well, and a 2-on-5 with a potential to lock off this round, as it's only up to Fouls now.
That's it, and he's a hell of a backline player. He is a wizard with smoke canisters, but against 5 Team 1 players that are getting a little bit vocal back. This game is starting to heat up. 3-2. One more round, see if they can try and pull even before they head over to their defensive side here on Villa. And this is one of those series where, you know, you're kind of expecting this intensity, this back and forth across potentially all 3 maps. Great early catch there from Levy onto Luka. Just kept on pushing that advantage and that pressure.
So, main thing to take away here, the previous Kitchen one, they left it till the last 20 seconds to really go for the execute. They were way quicker here. They were on the pace constantly, trying to make sure that they took as much ground as they possibly could, as quickly as possible as well. And it worked out wonders right there. You see it. They're able to spare some men on the other side of the building to take care of players that are looking to catch up these rotates late round if they're necessary. They said it's going to be a flawless round from the side of Team 1, and they are now looking to get their third as well. MIBR back to AVG as it has been unlocked. Is going to play their final defensive round for now. There is still the opportunity, of course, they play them in overtime or on the next map, but they probably want to lock it off beforehand.
A repetition of a site that's always been a bit back and forth is one of those moments of, okay, how are you going to step it up at this point? Because the pressure is really on Team 1. Yeah, the pressure is on the team that, well, whether they need it or don't, it's that continual game of we are doing better than you. We are stepping up into the most recent bar raise, which was by the bar raised behind it of Raps, opening up that angle and being able to dig himself down into the player that just tried to storm their way up the stairs. The Ying is back. That's the change towards the Tour de Force, a form that was able to open this up in their way. Team 1, though, they've also got a lot more width by the looks of it. Levy, he's currently found his way over to the far opposite side, was eyeing up Mudroom, but apparently is going even wider.
For sure, at least for now. And again, you see the similar kind of take coming out from the side of Team 1. You see a lot of players downstairs. I think this time, however, they might be trying to get rid of the mirror windows before, because there is the Electric Claw now that stops them from just using X-Kairos on it. And that means that there needs to be a different way to get rid of them. So you can either get rid of the Electric Claw or just the mirror window instead from below. And it's exactly what KDS is trying to hunt to do, or at least he's trying to find an entry. Pings are coming through. He's looking to find the entry, but he's not quite sure if it's safe on the red stairs or not. So whilst the drone is just, you know, checking around the corners just to make sure no one is hiding there because they lost some players through that, KDS is now holding the red stairs as well. They're probably going to make some noise at some point, force that rotate to happen, and yet again pick up another entry kill.
It's a slow creep. It's a slow guessing game, but at the same time, if there's nobody to sort of stop this vertical play, then KDS is going to see if he can go reverse fishing. There are these holes, there are these chances for them to try and bite back, which had some success before, but as you can see, Team 1 are much more aware of those this time. So you're not just going to catch a player screaming their way up the stairs, apart from you will. Not entirely sure why KDS just blindly went round there, as it was entirely the play that was done before, but this time it nets the kill, locks him off. He didn't even do as well as he did last time in that he suffered. Okay, he was blinded in barbed wire, but it was such a brash move to sort of make there. MIBR, they've been able to get themselves a wicked advantage, and, well, it's unfortunately lost on the backside. And this was the creep play of Levy that we talked about before. He went far and wide, and we haven't often seen a singular player of Team 1 go this deep and this far on the opposite side this early.
So Alamada last round, and right now it's the side of Team 1 that needs to make something happen. They have control of those main stairs, but it's not going to be enough. They got rid of one of the mirror windows. A player still on the red stairs gets spotted out, but Levy's position now given away as well, and is afraid that he will be pushed as Philipox actually falls back towards the side now. All 4 will be on. Lagones is pushing in deep, gets the very first kill, runs further down towards 90 as well, but falls in the middle of that corner, just waiting patiently with that shotgun in hand. Is going to get yinged, however, with the flashes. Alamar pushes in, and gets the kill. A player inside the fall is all that can stop them now for this plant to go through. 45 seconds will soon be on the clock as Lagonis sticks that plant. A Nitro comes through, but it gets sniped out by Alamau, and it's going to be a 1v4 situation. It's only up to Reader left, but he gets taken out. It's Team One that will be able to at least win that round.
3-3. 3-3 is that balance. 3-3 is how they've been able to find themselves at the end of their map. And I think at the end of the first half of their map, even their opponent's selection, now they've got to see if they can drive it home. It is good play from MIBR, but the momentum shift just before the turn of the half might be something where it bites them, because they've got to try and find some of the pace, and that was something that entirely Team One started to drive by the end of that. Their ideas got a little bit sharper. Their play, okay, I'm going to say not all the ideas got a little bit sharper. I would still say some mistakes like screaming your way up main stairs, but otherwise, it was generally starting to go into their favor a little bit more. Lagonis at the top of the board for them, but Neskin and Alamar waking up and trying to find some kills apiece. That is what they need to try and cut out the big guns of MIBR.
Funny thing, currently, 50% of the opening kills is actually leading to rounds. So what normally seems to be 80% is just stuck at 50 now. Team One have 4 opening kills, only 2 of them have been converted into rounds. MIBR had 2, and only 1 of them had been converted into rounds. From the 3 they have 1, so 50-50. Doesn't seem to be as important as it normally would be here, at least at the first half. That can all change, of course, as we now head over towards MIBR in the attack and Team One heading towards the defense. It's going to be the big question here. How is Team One going to fare against the attacks of MIBR?
It's similarities that you also see, but with those little curious twists. And obviously the Warden is one of them, the operator who doesn't see a huge amount of play. And, you know, you're not really up against anything in terms of the smokes, anything in terms of the sort of blinds of a Candela, potentially. It's one of those picks at this point where you've got to see if you can try and make it work in a different way. And it's an MPX and a C4, and what else can you sort of do with it in a game where you're probably expected to be suffering from underneath more than punishing from underneath?
I mean, we've been seeing it quite a lot of grenades being brought by a lot of teams, especially on maps like Villa. 6 or 8 grenades even is not too uncommon, where grenades are being used to try and get rid of these stronghold positions. The same, of course, goes for those Nitro cells being pre-placed, for example, waiting for the push to happen just to punish one player for it. Not something that we have seen too much effect of quite yet during this game. 4 grenades only just being brought by the side of MIBR currently. We do see 2 Nitros on the board for the side of Team One, so pretty even, as I believe these Selmas are being used right here to try and open up onto that fault wall.
Very good breaker utility there. They made sure that they could pop the pressure onto the shield. The smoke canister will just give them cover as they retreat. They almost caught them on the swing away. We heard some bullets fired just from Lukid underneath, but it couldn't quite get the catch on the retreating player. The grenade to the play in place where they were able to punish their opponents before, but look at this. There's a bit of a soft retake on that staircase. Alamau is drifting his way further and further back down just to see if he can maybe try and take a bit of a surprise strike with some solidity. I believe there is at least a Lucia or a Banshee maybe still on the staircase itself. There it is.
I think so, there is, yeah.
So they'll have some protection minus the shield, and well, at this point you're thinking, well, what MIBR haven't been able to do what Team One did, which was push the utility and then take the ground underneath.
Yeah, 60 seconds are left, and LMR retaking that position might be more important than some might realize, because as soon as we do see Lukid going for those main stairs, he could be picked up. If Files decides to just walk into study, there's KDS and LMR that can both take him out. He has the diffuser, he is on the balcony, and as Lukid is sneaking up on the red stairs here, it seems like the main push is coming in from the landing side, but the diffuser will be carried in right from study. And as soon as Alamau and KDS are still in this position, they might be able to just lock off the potential plant after all as well. So even if MIBR is successful in taking this side, they might not be able to get the plant down.
And that's it. It makes it so risky, and it's going to turn into a bit of a game of swing and miss to see who can get the true lockdown. They're trying to force a bit of a space here. They've got to see if they can secure gun vault, but Felipox in the meantime just gets one traded out. Lagonis, a very important take. Lukid's making sure nobody else can swing round, smoked up on the vault door, and only a handful of seconds. You got to push now, Thatcher, regardless of what else is going on. Neskin with a C4 over the top, dropped and locked, and it's caught out somehow. They are just able to take it in the dying throes of a round, and a very important push on the backside by Lukid.
I was going to say, as long as they do manage to keep control of those main stairs, everything should be going well, but that's exactly where it went wrong. Of course, the side was falling slowly as well, but Alamau picked up quite early. The kills couldn't be traded out on that window as there was a double jump in there. And the diffuser went deep instantly. At that moment, when the diffuser reaches the side and there's only a man left on those main stairs, you see right here, Raps picking up that kill. KDS not being able to actually go for fouls. And that forces them to, even if the kills wouldn't have gone down their way, as they did, they could have at least gotten the plan down.
4-3. And we find ourselves still in this game of back and forth. Obviously, the first round on either team, either time, and AVG as the opener has been taken away by the attackers. And it's a little bit later, I think, there from MIBR. It took, as I said, a little bit of a game of swing and miss. See if you can hit it, see if you can make the connections. There was the one deep dive that started it all off by Philippox getting into side, getting on and getting traded out, but still, it put a bit of fear in. They waited for the canister before they went for the move. There was the C4 over the top, and if it wasn't down to Luke getting the push and winning the fight on the backside, then it probably wouldn't have been an MIBR round, but probably isn't Siege. It's only what is actually pertinently on the screen ahead of us, and that is a round for MIBR, 4-2-3. Now, heading over to Dian in the exact same secondary rotation that was done by MIBR, the exact same idea of, well, we couldn't quite get that, but this is where we might be able to call home.
It definitely is. This is the opportunity for MIBR to get that 2-round advantage. If they do, that is going to be looking quite well for them in the remainder of this first map. It is only still the first map. You know, that means that, yes, there's a point at stake. Don't forget that, because you need a 2-0 victory to get a clear 3 points. It is not just the winner takes all. We do use a similar kind of system to what we use in the regular leagues, where an overtime win grants you just 2 points in comparison to 3. We just do it with maps now. And as MIBR has gotten a singular attacking round so far, we're headed toward that kitchen. That is the site where Team 1 struggled a lot. They were slow. They weren't quite able to quite nail that attack on the first go. The second one, however, was a lot more successful. But MIBR, do they know something? Do they have a way to deal with this attack quickly and make sure that they can get a plan down quickly? And that's exactly what they're doing as the Thatcher goes off, and now the Selmas will detonate as well to open up the wall. It's at least a rotation on their side.
Puts Lagonis in a dangerous area here, and he needs the rest of Team 1 to see if they can do some damage, and that's what Alamau did. Drifted his way closer to Art, took Raps, and took off that side wing and wind that they might have been able to pinch themselves into. It forces MIBR into a little bit more of a direct approach here, because all of the other bodies were above. They were prepping themselves for a more direct take. There's some toes just around the corner. Lagonis is able to pull away, realized the mistake just early enough. But he's still got a lot of caution to be paid there. With that opening, with that awning, and with that big, deep tunnel and corridor that runs through the heart of this site, it's a bit of a missed connection where you really never know whether they're watching you from the top or the bottom.
Pre-play C4 might be important, but it doesn't seem to be the case, as Files and Lukid will be entering from below, just like Philippox, who's trying to push up right here onto the Astro stairs, looking to find a way into China. But the hatch above is definitely, well, making him afraid a little bit. As MIBR is looking for an opening. They're a man down. They cannot afford the trade game here. They need to find a clean shot. And after that, start a trade game in their advantage. And with only 45 seconds left, there's no vertical control that will be able to help them here. They're all trying to go horizontal here.
It's a bit of a waiting game. But to be fair, they executed late before. And can they get themselves the drive here onto the player on the far side? They get an important take. Reduct to Levy across the side of the site. There's one more, and it's theirs. Reduct, though, dropped out by Alamau on the far side. It's all traded deep across. It is in territorial no man's land inside the site, and that's the danger right now. MIBR, well, they just swing and retake it with guns instead. Nobody could step in to that room, and it ended up being the cost for Team 1, who just could not find a way to step up against that approach.
Yeah, definitely difficult there, and I was thinking, I hope this goes well, because there's absolutely no vertical control, but as there were no verticalities used by the defenders as well, like no pre-made holes to stop these entries from happening, you don't need to take that control. It's a 5-on-2 on the side, or 4-on-2 on the side in that case, because there were still some people upstairs, and you know, by the time they rotate back, you already have that gunman advantage. And MIBR, they take the round, they put themselves up into 5, and they see the map point within their reach. They need to find 2 more to put Villa on their name. The map pick of Team 1, that is definitely something they would love to have. just to at least get that 1 point, because they are in that dangerous territory. If I'm just quickly swapping over, they're above Na'Vi currently, who overall has a 79% and in the bottom two. MIBR currently is on 59%, so they definitely have the better odds here, but picking up a point will be increasing that even further, especially with the game less they have played as well. This is their second game only of the tournament instead of their third.
That's it. We talked about this as a conversation of people who played on the first day. They had a lot of shakiness. There was a lot of surprise results that sort of came through, but some teams just couldn't get into it. It was a big, sudden, loud, boisterous start for all of these teams on a day where you've worked on this for however long. MIBR, starting on the second day. Okay, it's still technically their first game, but there's already numbers on the board. There's already scores in play. There's already Siege been played. And you're just sort of adding to that. You're not introducing yourself with it. And that gives you just a little bit extra to work with and a little bit more to sort of drive on. And obviously, when a team's had a day off, you can utilize that to have your team talk and sort of watch over what other people have done and how you might be able to bring it later on. Here, Raps is going for a slow and steady creep up, straight past the barb. There's a fight on the left. Oh, he barely sees it. Levy gets the opener here for Raps. And to be fair, it's not always gone the way as it did in the previous round. As he said, the opening strats and trades have been a little bit curious.
Yeah, this is their 6th opening now on the side of Team 1, and only 2 of them have led to rounds so far. This is the opportunity to make that their 3rd. But as the main push seems to be coming down again from a main stairs and a study side of it, it's going to be interesting to see how MIBR will be trying to fight back into this round, because they have that man disadvantage now. Yes, they can start opening up with the Selmas, but there is again 2 men down onto that main stairs, and the last time they managed to shut them down cleanly. The question is, will that be the case this time again? No, as KDS picks up the very first. It's really to fall down, trying to make a comeback here with grenades, but so far none of them have really hit someone yet.
That's it. It's the game that has been pretty devastating throughout this whole tournament. The combination of the pings and the grenades, it's well placed and played. And to be fair, even out with the pings, you roughly know where people are going to be playing. You're opening yourself some holes up in there. Well, once again,
almost the first.
Massively scraped, but not quite locked out. And here's an attempt at Fleetbox trying to get their way up. They don't quite trust it. Neskin, with a jammer, has kept himself safe in the bathtub. How aware are MIBR?
I don't think they know. I don't think they're aware of the fact that Neskin's out there. Alamau's also creeping right around the corner here. So as soon as this pressure seems to be coming down onto the bathroom here, there is going to be a bit of support coming down from the trophy room. MIBR is taking fights everywhere over the map right here with the 3 members. They are definitely not given any cards here by the side of Team 1. They're making sure that they're locking off this round because they do not want to be match point down. And as Alamau picks up, gets another kill, it's now a 2-5 situation here with the diffuser still onto the balcony. That is what they need to get down on the board at some point, but even then it's going to be a very tall ask as Alamau just swings around the corner and picks up yet another kill.
Alamau starting to find his feet here on this round, and well, they're thirsting for the last kill. Falls. He stood outside on the balcony, drops 1 before being dropped himself. Team 1, as he said, they're keeping themselves off of match point. A delicate place to be on in the best of times. And obviously they still have their team talk. They still have their moment. They can sort of take a step back because, as you said, the most precious thing here is that full fat 3 points, which you only get if you 2-0 your opponents, regardless of whether you win or lose the series. If you drop a map, you drop a point gifted to them, which in a game where only 1 team is removed from a group, that becomes a very precious point indeed. Trophy statuary. Can this be the one where Team 1 are able to pull themselves level? Have they got the ideas to turn this into a win? Once again, we are seeing a site rotation exactly the same as their opponents.
Yes, we are indeed. They're absolutely or completely mirrored. Not mirrored. Just kind of mirrored, but not mirrored.
I mean, it's,
you know what I mean? It's like
it depends where you draw the mirror. The same listing.
It's the same listing. The same Tron. The same. Same choices being made, just not on how the round actually plays out in the end. And I kind of like the Thatcher that we've been seeing on MIBR. It allows them to open up quickly. That actually led them to 2 rounds that they managed to win because that opening was there from the start, and suddenly there's a lot of pressure on the side of Team 1. My question here will be, are they going to be able to utilize that as well here on Trophy? There is, of course, that opening in the wall already that provides Team 1 an opportunity to skirmish out towards that bedroom. and the skirmishing is what won them that last round. The fights being taken all over the map and the gunfights being won by players such as alamau is what gave them the upper hand. So skirmishing is something MIBR should probably try to avoid here a little bit, because that is what got them the loss in the end. They just need to focus on their execute. It was clean. When everybody starts entering the site at the very same time, there was nothing Team 1 could do with the players that were still offside at that moment in time. There's attempted bangs coming through right here. Raps is not going to be able to find anybody on the side of Team 1. Not even an ankle or a single point of damage.
Now, as the angles start to get opened up here, round onto the back of the bathroom, driven by an Iana that's just trying to see if anyone's there. Lagonis is caught out. They do have an ADS to keep themselves safe. You can see Felipox is rotating around to see if he can try and apply some pressure onto the window itself. No, in fact, he's going, well, okay, maybe he's going back to the window. He looked like he might have been dancing around wine for a second and a deep drive up the stairs towards potentially the hatch pressure instead. Maybe he's not entirely sure what he's doing, and I'm just going to stop guessing. Though the pressure itself is coming onto Levy. He's able to try and drive themselves. There's an impact trick onto the Selma, a close fight. And it goes away from the Maestro. Reduct is able to get the opener here for MIBR, the first in a couple of rounds. And the signal potentially of a good drive here as they entirely flood over the bedroom.
And now to see as well that the trophy is completely clear. Felipox is going to be able to pick up another kill here on the classical Hall/90 window, and that suddenly puts MIBR at a 2-minute advantage. However, Lagonis being close on this corner with a shotgun is going to be detrimental as long as no one is up on that window to put pressure down on him. He's freely allowed to rotate to wherever he wants to on that site, and as drones are starting to flood in, they're trying to get the information necessary to go for the eventual execute. It's Felipox now trying to enter from the art studio. alamau is still around. It's still a roamer out there, and he might be able to catch Felipox off guard, or if it goes the other way around, that is probably going to be the end of Team 1 in this round.
alamau is just drifting a little bit too out of there. Felipox had an idea and he wanted to move somewhere else because with 50 seconds he's still got to apply the pressure onto the site, but alamau, well, he just misrepresented the fight there, and Neskin's at least able to find the first, goes for the second, doesn't quite get the full connection, and suddenly it's all flooding over. Finds it though, in and amongst, and Lagonis is suddenly on the split side, gets two, and what's this? Everything has suddenly fallen away. Fool's the only one left. He's looking for a fight on the far side of the chassis. He is currently in between two players and with everything open, and that camera peeking, he is entirely at the mercy. 20 seconds and the diffuser in hand, but anything he does now is going to be entirely thrown. They wait. They don't want to swing in. It's very late. They push it at the end and pull instantly back. Finds the first. The trade is there, and Team 1 somehow off of the back of two players and, well, a heck of a combination of kills get around.
It definitely is. A 2v5 clutch coming down there from the side of Team 1 to put themselves back up onto 5 as well and deny the map point that MIBR was trying to chase. And that means that we're at least going to see 12 rounds here to see whether or not we have a winner within the regulation, or if we will go to overtime on this first map right away. And that is something we do often see with teams from the same region. They know each other through and through. It is totally not uncommon to see 12 rounds or even more than that every single map. And as we're heading back towards the dining in the kitchen, they continue with the rotation that was being pulled up by MIBR before as well.
It's so close. And I think that's the thing is, both these teams now, these are two teams that have warmed into the competition as well. You're looking at plays like that. You're looking at that confidence. Neither team taking the timeout, neither team taking the moment to think that they need to realign. They trust that the momentum and the swing that they've been able to build up inside this showdown is the one that will carry them to success. Obviously, we get to map point, you're probably going to see one of those time holds. That is the moment to just sort of say, we need to push this to OT. What's the trick? What's the play? Bring out the special book, and let's see what we can run on it.
That's it, right? Whoever loses this round is likely to call that tactical timeout, just to have a quick moment to talk with the rest of the team, with your support staff, just to try and see, okay, this round is important. If we lose this, we lose that 1 point. What can we do? What is the way to stop this attack or to stop this defense, depending on who will win? Of course, as so far we have been following the same rotation. AVG, most likely the next side already. I dare to bet. As it's going to be EMP tossed in. Files quickly trying to rotate over as well, just to make sure that the Selma will still be in time. But Levy, right around the corner, is actually too afraid to swing it. to try and take care of the Selmas. Wants to keep his position hidden, gives them that opening. That's okay, he thinks.
He's happy with it. It does what it needs to do. And we've got to remember how the take worked from MIBR here before was they were able to get in against this pulse. They were able to get in against that stock side, and suddenly they had themselves really applying pressure onto the side itself. Team 1, sure, it was empty ground, but it was more of a threat for them. And Neskin, first to go, second is KDS, quickly followed by the same gun. Luca is seeing if he can knock anything above here and put pressure onto the remaining 3 players. There's still 2 C4s.
That one's going to be pre-placed, at least not blown up yet, waiting for some form of sound to guide it here as Philippox will just shoot Alamau in the back. And again, we find ourselves in a 5-on-2 situation with the Frostmat picking up the very first victim. It's Philippox that gets himself stuck in there, and as Levy goes over to try and finish him off just to make sure that they're not going to be able to pick him back up. There's a lot of verticality right now in contrast to the earlier round that we've played here, but this is potentially helping MIBR in this situation. There is only 2 players left. There's 70 seconds on that clock. It's plenty of time, and as their drones start coming in, they're finding out about the positions of these 2 players. As Lagonis is trying to just sneak out right here, potentially go for a roam up to the top floor. It's still Raps that is just wrapping around that corner just past that red stairs here, but he's not quite sure whether or not he wants to help the rest of his team or hold the flank.
It's this sort of uncomfortable situation now because, I mean, they've done a 2 versus 5 clutch before. What's the 2 versus 4? Technically, we'll claim it when he jumped through into the Frostman. It was around the same time. Here, they've stacked themselves inside, ready to go for the push itself. Obviously, didn't get the wall, and it's a little bit of a funnel, but as Lagonis finds a fight on the red stairs, they're going to see if they can scream their way down, potentially put a little bit more pressure back in because the call would have come. They're not there. We need to see if we can isolate this single player right now. Lagonis takes that important fight against the Iana, loses it. Levy at least gets his, but it's locked off. MIBR, they're sitting on map point.
They have it. Map point within reach here for MIBR, and that is a very important point they are dying to grasp. Of course, they only play that 1 game, so there's not as many stakes in this game yet as there would be on the side of Team 1. However, every point you take now is a point that you do not have to have on the board later on, just to make sure you get out of groups. And MIBR are that 1 round away currently of making sure that they have that point in their bags, and it pushes over towards the second map, which is going to be Kafe.
I think Kafe is a curiosity as well because Villa is a very hefty map, Villa is a very sturdy map, and Kafe is a decidedly tactical map. Kafe is a place where tactics can really scream some success. It can really sort of bring that intensity based on how you can cater and put together and cook a cool idea. And I think that's one of the things that you don't really get too much wiggle room here with on Villa. And obviously it's MIBR's choice to want to go to Kafe based on previous play, and it's a good map for them. But for me, sometimes it turns into a game where Team 1, I think, have these ideas. They have these little pocket plays, and they're happy to sort of juggle operators rather than MIBR's usual setup, which is 4 huge gunners and the singular support sitting back on the side of Fools, who, to be fair, this game has done a little bit more than sitting back, has really been getting into these engagements.
The opening kills are starting to be more balanced out currently. We have 6 on Team 1, we have 5 on the side of MIBR so far, and that shows that the attack definitely seems to be favored in these opening kills, finding those first engagements. That is basically what we've been seeing already in the meta lately, where the attack is starting to get the upper hand. Opening kills, a big part to play in that, and that seems to be the case now as well. MIBR need 1 more round to lock up this first map. And there's still 1 more, potentially 2 more to play, so it's not over yet. They'll definitely have to keep their focus, but it's a good start, especially in your opponent's map pick, because after that you go to something you feel more familiar with yourselves, as you have decided to pick it instead of letting it be banned, which is Kafe, of course, for the side of MIBR. And as it seems to be a very heavy south push again, with Lukit down on the main stairs, with 3 on the balcony, or around the balcony of that study side, surely they're looking to flood the side, and that is completely possible. Lagonis is in 90, KDS is the only one on site right here, and as Alamau is flowing back up, he gets the entry, but he goes off the angle and gets traded straight away.
Couldn't quite get the second connection there. He thought there was a little bit more pressure coming through than it was, and Suddenly things have got a little bit dicey here because MIBR wanted to go fast. They wanted to try and push that pressure and bowl past the single player. They couldn't quite get it as cleaned. It buys at least Team One a moment to have a conversation, but it's a moment in a minute and a half. It is so much time now for MIBR to build behind what they're able to already structure and put themselves on a mantle just in the range to get that without needing the Gon 6. Has that in pocket and has a moment's try and drone. Lucat is covering that rotation. There should be entire clarity here, and Philippox once again playing the game on the far side. They seem to want to try and find these individual fights, and this one they've decided is 90. There's a Jaeger. It's a constant aggression. It's a tough window, so they're going to be noisy on it and force them away that way instead.
KDS now more towards the trophy side. Neskin still out there as well, so effectively 2 players on the side. KDS, however, has a quick way back in, and that is something we saw as soon as the first skirmish came through and the opening kill was traded out when Elamau died. There was 3 people on Team 1 left on the side instantly, where it was just 1 before, so they quickly rotated around, were able to catch the rush if it did come through. However, we both know that that didn't happen. As grenades are being tossed in now, there's 40 seconds left on the clock. Smoke grenades are being tossed back in a response, and Raps is going to be unable to take that position, or at least unable to push that for now. As all the MIBR members are currently alongside Classical and Sturdy, surely the push is coming in as Philippox will be able to pick up yet another kill. It's a 4-on-3. The advantage is to MIBR. It's their game to lose right now, especially with the second one that gets picked up by Philippox.
Now, they're just desperately trying to swing themselves in. Levy's doing everything with a vector that it does. It's a laser beam, but a handful of seconds and a single player is all that stands between this map falling and the build-up. Here it is. MIBR are able to take Villa from Team One. They are able to secure themselves a single point, but with how this plays out and with the intensity of how this game has already started, you know they are thirsting for that full fat 3.
They're indeed thirsting for that full 3, and that would be a win for them as well to overtake Team 1 in that matter, their fellow countrymen and their fellow region players. And with that, MIBR does that lead now. Will be going towards their own map afterwards. And it was a close one, this one. We have to say 7-5. The entries were in favor of Team 1, but MIBR, with their potential to just bring it back time and time again, really came in clutch here today. And if they keep that up, if they do keep on managing to punish these players of Team 1, then they should have a good time at Kafe as well.
Losing the entry was tough, and it was a consistent fight between these two teams. That opening half was back and forth, but MIBR found a rhythm and they found a reason. Most importantly, they found a way to be able to pull apart Team 1. Next, we go to MIBR's map, their home turf of Kafe Dostoyevsky, but before then, a very quick break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Invitational Group Stage, Day 3, Match 2, Map 2, Team 1 versus MIBR. We're going to Kafe very soon. It was very difficult to actually get them all together, all those numbers and days and names.
There was a lot of numbers. There was 3 and 2 and at least 1. But there is only one more chance for Team 1 to try and pull some points from this showdown. It might just be 1, it might be 2 at best, but only MIBR could get the full 3, and that is if they can take their map, Kafe Dostoyevsky, which is up next in our best of 3. They were able to steal Villa from the clutches of Team 1 with, well, it was a pretty unusual performance, because as you said, statistically, things were kind of going away from them.
Yeah, if you look at the entries, 7-4 in favor of Team 1. You're looking at the plans, 2-0 for the side of Team 1. And if you then look in towards the amount of flawless rounds, also 1 to the side of Team 1. Of course, that first plant was denied, eventually was defused by the side of MIBR. But in the end, MIBR, they might have lost those entries, but their trade game was too strong for the side of Team 1 to deal with. And that's eventually what led them to that win. And that is something they need to keep up here on Kafe as well, because as soon as you let Team 1 get into their game, that is when it gets dangerous.
I think that's entirely it. As Team 1 will have a team talk, they'll have a new idea, and as I said, Kafe is a fun one, because statistically it's a good one for MIBR, they enjoy playing there, it's a good homestead. But it is a map that does reward that sort of creative bout of aggression which Team 1 can bring. They're obviously, in some people's books, a little bit more of the traditional roles of Siege, where they sort of have a very hard support. They have a huge star player who has been pretty good this tournament, living up to that star status, but the star's got to make it out and got to definitely win these domestic games here. And well, will they be able to try and apply this pressure? And it's this sort of thing where MIBR, to be fair to them, they have a really good bout of fluid aggression. They have 4 huge gunners and a similar support structure, and I think that sort of reliance on that team grasp was what carried them through the heavy brick and mortar of Villa.
I really love this, by the way, when you see all the teams just huddled up, they're quickly discussing how to go about the second map right here, as it is so important. They really do need to make sure that, first of all, MIBR, they want to lock it off here. They do not want to go to a map 3. They want to get those full 3 points to, I won't say secure, but if Na'Vi loses their next game, they are secured if they get 3 points here today. That's how simple it is. He will be continuing at that point. Na'Vi will be the one that is, they're in a peculiar position. So MIBR and Team 1 are both trying to find a way away from the potential peculiar position.
Nobody wants to be in a peculiar...
No one wants
Nobody wants to be in a pickle. I can hear that the other game from this group is...
Is it Team 1? I mean...
It's not Team 1. We are on Team 1.
I mean, Damwon.
No, that's Des and Ace.
Damwon Kia.
Oh, Damwon and Kia are fighting. We're not going to say the score. A, we don't know it. We'd just be making it up at this point. B, it sounds like map 1 for them is either still going or just finished, because we are like 10 feet away from Tim and Des. And...
yeah, I mean, isn't that every single time?
We are often...
We're often 10 feet away from them.
Very close to them. But it sounds like the other game from this group has... If you're somehow here on the Bravo stream, there's an A stream. And if you didn't know that, it'd be very impressive.
You should stay on the Bravo stream, because you can follow both games here.
Yeah, you get us and you get them.
See? So you only need to...
It's overtime. Cover your ears if you don't want to know who's winning. 3, 2, 1, 7-6 to Damwon Kia. 7-6 Damwon Kia, who have pulled 6 points so far.
I think if they win this map, they're confirmed top 2.
Exactly. Not even lower bracket in the playoffs.
Just still have a game to go after this.
Oh, they're looking good. Oh, they're looking good. So that means that this game of 2 teams that haven't looked as good as they could possibly be could be this potential for growth. Could be this sort of bar. Obviously, MIBR haven't played as much as Team 1. Team 1 have taken a knock against Damwon Kia, but if everyone does, well then it's...
I think so did MIBR. I think they also...
Yeah, exactly. It's not the end of the world. If you've been beaten by the best, you can still fight for that second best spot, but you've got to at least beat everyone else.
Yeah. 2-0, Damwon Kia against Team 1. 2-0, Damwon Kia against MIBR. So they're doing good. And we got both of them up right here, right now, here on Kafe. It is MIBR looking to lock off a 3-pointer as Team 1 is looking to push us over towards a map number 3. First, as per usual, we will go into the operator bans. Is there anything that happened in that last map where they're like, all right, we really need to get rid of a Thatcher? Yes, that's exactly what Team 1 thinks.
Get him out of here. Get rid of the control that they were able to sort of have. It was very quick and it was very sort of swift, the drive that they put themselves in on, and if anything, it's a little bit more familiar. It's a little bit more standard. I commented on the fact that where you'll usually see these more interesting bans and intricate bans is against teams that know each other. But Thatcher was on the board before, the sort of removals on Villa. It's always going to be different to Kafe, but this is Kafe bans. Those ones before were specific.
Yeah, Nomad as well, not really something that is too out of the ordinary. Wouldn't be surprised if a Valkyrie will follow up shortly as well, because right now as Runites are being enabled due to the fact that there won't be any air jets out there, you definitely don't want cameras to be as well. As MIBR decides to go for a oNe, it is going to be up to Team 1, who is on the defense first, whether or not they want to play with a Valkyrie or not.
I feel no. You've got creative aggression from MIBR. Oh,
They do.
okay.
I was going to say, well,
maybe. Okay. But for me, this is okay, prove me wrong. And I guess that's always the thing. If I make a statement against you, you've got to prove me wrong, whatever the weather. But a Valk in the hands of MIBR can be very good. It can be good in the hands of anybody, but you're looking at so many places and plays for them to be able to pull together and intel to be offered. And to be fair, one of the reasons the entry game from Team 1 was so good was because that they could manipulate the intel, and they kept on finding single players. They kept on just pulling a player out of an occasion and saying, no, you sit this one out. Valk, for me, offers that back into the hands of MIBR, but Team 1 can still be very good with that intel game. They've already proven that. So I softly retract what I say, but I still have a cautionary asterisk on it.
I was going to say, there's also always the opportunity to bring the IQ, of course, an operator that no longer has frag grenades, yes, but...
Since when?
long time. But ever since, you know, she started to being played a lot less. But lately, we're starting to see a resurgence again. We see more and more IQ coming out because it is just a counter to Valkyrie and to Echo and to a lot of other electronics. Actually, the pulse that has been 6-picked now by Legonis could also even be scanned and potentially banged with the pistol by the side of Lukit. So, IQ coming out. It's going to be interesting to see how effective it will be. Because sometimes we do see teams pick up the IQ but not really make too much use of the gadget. Let's just put it up like that. So it's important that you actually do use the scanner.
Attention is obviously going to be paid to those. And the thing about IQ is she sort of disappeared for a while because Valk was just continually banned. She was
that as well.
So high in the ban rate for everybody on pretty much every map. Not everyone exclusively, but pretty much everyone. This is one of the places where, to be fair, she has had a run around and teams have prepped for an IQ. But sometimes if she's on the board, as we've already seen this tournament, people find it a bit awkward to bring IQ back in. You have that conversation of not just we need her for this, but it's also, okay, but what do we not need? Or what do we need the least from what we have? What's the trade-off?
Oh no.
Well, that got... Okay, I was going to say that got very far. That could have got those ADSs behind and maybe put some pressure onto the player, but just went straight past them.
I was more afraid of the fact that Neskin was on his camera at that point. If he would have checked on the left, that could have been a kill even to come through if he didn't have noticed in time. Of course, it did go off at the right moment. Shot it as well before any damage could be done. But a lot of information will be given out towards the side of MIBR because it was allowed to go that far. It was able to see a player at the planks, a player down on the back of the cocktail, but the rest seemed pretty clear. That is due to the fact that there is 2 players currently offside. There is 2 players currently below, playing with nitros as well to potentially stop plans from happening if MIBR tries to go quick.
Lukit's been able to get himself in and amongst Cigar. He's going to see if anybody swings around as the drones burr and buzz away as the rest of the players get in position. You can see a handful over on East. You've obviously got the diffuser just above the skylight, which means they're going to try and pinch themselves and posture towards that sort of a drop. The finger boost, but there's no real response, and certainly there's a bit of a rotation. A spray down towards it, just to sort of give the impression, yeah, we're here, we're aware, but you can see the players heading towards Brown Stairs. Reduct gets the Gonus, opens it up as Raps tries to drive their way across the top here. They're still concerned, but, well, they've not been able to get the full catch on the holds up here. Obviously, the site is down below, but it's an important vertical clear that you've got to make sure is done.
For sure, nitros are being popped up as well now, but to no avail. Lukit continues to just play some verticality now. Xkaros even being used as well to open up even more angles. A player just got spotted walking out of the laundry right there, and now they know that at least one of them is going to be playing around in that hallway or actually in the dining room and reading seems to be quite close for now. The plant is going down by Files. He's snuck in and no one seems to be aware of it. However, the swing could be right around at the right time. Exactly so. Levy will be able to cancel it from happening, but it's a 1-on-3 situation now. It's only up to Neskin, who finds the very first, needs to find 2 more. 25 seconds on that clock. It is only up to MIBR now to try and recover that diffuser and get it down, or to hunt down the very last member of them, as it's going to be Reduct that spots him out and gets him in the end. But that was almost a very valiant effort.
It was very, very well played there to be able to swing inside the site, but to be honest, the suddenness of MIBR just pushing their way across, finding all the fights on the opposite sides on the second, third story, and making sure that, well, this was their territory, this was their ground. We saw the Team 1 players forced out. We saw them push down the white stairs. We saw them shepherded away from any of the space, and to be honest, there wasn't a huge sort of kerfuffle about it. There wasn't a lot of pressure being pinched and pushed back against them. It becomes this moment of, okay, Team 1, I need a little bit of that snappiness. MIBR have woken up. They've been able to take the pressure onto the first map, and they're looking to try and drive it here onto the second. And the longer that goes on without you really having a bite back into the approach, the more worrying that becomes.
Heading over to the kitchen next. Not going towards that top floor as of yet. There's a lot of screaming going on. Probably the viewers at home will be able to you know, understand what's going on better than we are at this moment.
It's just finished. It's just finished. We're getting the word from our production. If you don't want to know the result on the other stream,
Close your ears again.
Close your ears. 3, 2, 1. 8-7 to Damwon Kia. Damwon Kia take the first map in the showdown on the other stream.
Just check, because that means that they might be... I mean, it was a 0.1% chance that they would be relegated out, so I think that just...
The 0.1%?
Yeah, you don't have that with the others, do you?
No.
All the percentages.
Demo couldn't even spell the word percent.
But yeah, they're confirmed first team, I think, that will be going up to the playoffs. It's just going to be a question of whether or not it will be the upper bracket or not.
I think that's it as well, is there's more than just getting out of groups. And although we say only one team gets eliminated, no one wants to be the one team, let's be real. You are still fighting for the placement. You are still fighting for a lifeline, the upper bracket versus the lower bracket on the huge playoffs display that starts in about 3 or 4 days. We still have couple of days. This is the hump day of all of it. We get past this, we're past the hump, now we're on the downward slide. So that is why we're sort of starting to get these solidities, starting to get these, well, they're not going to be disqualified, but where are, well, not disqualified, kicked out, but where are they going to end up? Neskin still doing some renovation, getting themselves some rotate based on the play that was otherwise coming across. Hefty on the bakery approach here, and he's doing his best to keep it locked down, and Alaman's still in amongst the pillars. He's got to be a player that starts to show up a little bit of sharpness here. If he can take some of these vertical fights, draw some attention away, it might slow the approach, because otherwise, well, MIBR aren't slowed at all by this bakery.
Now, and KDS is the big worry here for me in terms of the MIBR push. We have 3 players right around the bakery. We have one near the Kojak and one near Brown Stairs. KDS is going to be able to lock off anything that comes through prep, and that means that they need to open up that main wall. They need to go for a push through there, or just rotate all the way around. And yes, they've opened up, but it's just a small hole. It's just a Hibana. It's not a Thermite exothermic hole that is significantly bigger, and that means that if they're able to watch it, they're definitely going to be taking your head off as you walk right in. But that's a great kill from Luka. Just swings through the small rotation, gets the first kill, finds a second as well, and MIBR explode onto the site, and will be able to get a plan down as well if they don't kill KDS quick enough. And that is a 5-on-1 situation right now. They might check all 3 boxes here as KDS picks up 1 kill. However, so the Flawless gets denied, is being hunted down. It's not that MIBR is trying to slow down or they're trying to get that last kill. They're hunting him. They're making sure that he's not able to go to that bottom floor, and they grant him another kill as a result. However, there's Raps just heading around the corner, waiting for him to take the brown stairs down, and that is going to be another round here for the side of MIBR.
2 in a row. They've opened this strong, and this was where they wanted to pull this fight together. Team 1, they need to have a little bit more in this approach. They need to have a little bit more of a bite back here. And as I said, MIBR, they just seem unstoppable on their approaches into sight. And that's the questions that I sort of have right now. If you break that round down, if you segment it, them getting into bakery, there was no confrontation. There was nobody that sort of butted heads. We could hear some over that early minute of just a couple of sprays and a couple of pushes, but nothing intently. Then it comes through the flood onto the site itself, and MIBR, they're winning their gunfights in the situation. They're overwhelming the bodies and sort of pushing past the verticalities that's locked in.
Attackers need to locate.
That first kill was crucial. I don't know if we, you know, I'm new here. I haven't done any other games. I don't know if we have a replay.
Well, the replays,
yeah, okay, but I mean,
happen.
if we can put that, if we did see that, or if
you're
we did
requesting
see that,
stuff,
I am requesting stuff.
People,
either way,
you're trying to.
The way they opened up perfectly covered the angle towards the freezer, which meant they could sneak in, and the pre-fire up into that window, that is what granted them the kill. It was uncontested, as you mentioned. There was no way they were going to be able to fight back on that, not at least with the angles and the openings they had. And after that, they can just explode. They head in from the hallway, they start with the plant, and there's nothing Team 1 can do to respond. And as they head back towards the reading room now, they're looking desperately to find a round somewhere, but overall, not really been given the opportunity to do so.
Now, the last time these two teams played this map specifically,
Yes,
I believe, was quite a while ago. I'm just double-checking it all. So it's always tougher to sort of pull stats on that stuff, because at that point there's been changes, at that point there's been whatever, but it was into the favor of MIBR, or the organization at that time.
Which was a different team, I think. Was it last year?
That's why it gets a little bit messy between these two teams, because Team 1 haven't been a team for a very long time. So we don't truly have data
and
for
MIBR,
these sets of players.
Their roster went to phase.
Yep, they were picked up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit messy when you go further back than the start of the 2021
So although, technically, they've played this map, they haven't technically played this map, but they've got... You have to have a look at comparisons. You have to look at maps that might be similar, and you know, it's the defense half where Team 1 sometimes have these little slivers and moments, and you need to have just a little bit more of that battle pressure. Here, once again, MIBR, they're in quite quick, they're in quite early, and last time they were pushing against this, they were able to take across here without anyone in an engagement, and no bodies were dropped.
And right now they're trying to go a little bit quicker though. You see already some pressure coming down towards that wide hallway, towards the planks, towards the stairs. KDS is on those stairs. There's going to be another player onto the planks as well. And as Lagonis is coming up with a scanner just to try and figure out if someone is outside on that balcony, the answer is no. But hatches are being opened up, and MIBR is definitely making some work happen here. A lot of verticalities now being created here and there.
Lukid hopped up over the top, and those Flores drones are doing everything to push that remaining player. There's one on wood, and there's one just on the hatch. KDS suffers quite a bout of damage, and Reduct, well, they take Neskin, can't quite get the second. Alamau drifts down, he's not going to drop just yet. He's going to see if he can put a little bit more fight, buys a smoke canister, but not on his second entrance. They're down to the bottom of Christmas. They're going to look for a fight here. Lagonis is back up the other stairs, though, as he said. KDS bit back, and this is exactly what I wanted to see from Team 1, a response. Do not just keep pulling back, because MIBR do this. They flood regardless. They will go for the site, they'll go for the plant, and that's what they're doing, but at least you have the verticality here. At least you might be able to try and get it. They're not in the default. They pulled themselves slightly further away, but they did pick up the plant. They're repositioning too. They don't feel entirely safe. And with 20 seconds, they got to see if they can try and find a way to get this stuck on the ground. Their best idea, by the sounds and smells of it, is to go to the other site. They're going to slip down, dug in on the close corners. They have the cover. It's easier to get that locked in. There's a pulse, though. The pulse is trying to find the man. There's the reveal. There's the pop, but it's a post plant. A little bit too late. Does find one, though. Only one left. Lagonis. 2 versus 1 situation. Felipox and Lukid have pulled themselves slightly further back. There is still a grenade in the pocket of Felipox. They can try and long arm this just a little if they want, but it's a heck of a gun. Reduct.
Yeah, some sleepy noises coming out as it's taking quite long. Of course, 20 seconds. Needs 7 to get the defuse out. Takes a lot of damage here. Lagonis needs to win these gunfights.
Reloading an LMG. No!
Felipox!
No way!
That is painful to die like that, and that is 3-0 to MIBR, who planted yet once more. It took them a while. They went for the plant, they went off it, and then went back on, and Oh man, I just want to go quickly back towards the first kill as we're doing it anyway. The hatch was being opened up for a drop if the contest was coming through, but look at too quick, able to pick up that very first kill before the hatch drop could even come through. And then the second one as well, as the second player wanted to actually use it to rotate out. It's questionable to say the least, but MIBR, they're making the most out of Kafe here. And are really stepping up to the challenge, are really trying to get that 3-0 or 3 points. As they're currently 3-0 up as well.
Defenders protect
I
the bomb.
mean,
Being defused by
reloading an
attackers.
LMG, you only do it if you have to. It takes a round to reload. And then, to be fair, I do not blame Philippox for going for the knife.
What could he have done? I mean, it would have been
Nothing
smart
else.
otherwise, exactly.
Nothing else you could have done.
Because did he have the gun 6? Finka probably would have got the gun 6, so
It's
it's not
just-
secondary either.
Oh, that's a bit of death. That is charged around a bookcase and knifed.
Yeah, that's a scary sight. I mean, sometimes Siege is a horror game.
I mean, if anything, it sort of paints the story of this game is MIBR. They just keep taking opportunities. They just keep seeing these options. They just keep seeing free ground, and they take it. They go for these chances, and Team One haven't quite got that confidence. I'm not entirely sure.
Attackers have located
You know,
the bomb.
it's one of those sort of ways of trying to word it and bring it back together is, what are they missing? What's that little edge that can't quite get connection? I liked the rotates. I liked the play. I liked pushing themselves off the site and trying to keep MIBR guessing. If they're going to try and funnel themselves into site and into a firefight, then
bomb
one
has
up
been
them, one
located.
step them, and find yourself placed slightly elsewhere. But moments like that.
There were some smart calls for sure, because they knew someone was upstairs. They knew the verticality is not in their favor at that moment because they left no one up top. So where do you go? You go to some place where there is no verticality at that moment from the top floor down, and well, worked out successfully. Opening up some of these angles here to further be able to challenge the players that could be up on the top floor in that cocktail balk. Philippox is trying to put up some pressure towards the windows here. He needs to be careful that he's not being jumped out upon. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if on the right side we'd see 2 people jumping out of Philippox out there. We see Alamau and Neskin just ready to do that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see the take here. Obviously, they're trying to clear some of the space over on this single player up here. Philippox wants to put the fight onto White Stairs, but they've been able to shepherd everybody pretty much off that top floor. They've been able to guarantee themselves some security here, and it's down to Team One to see if they can try and bite back, because hopping into that mining area is dangerous if you don't truly have some eyes onto pillars. It can become a bit of a swing game. It can become a bit of a dangerous game, and you don't have that confidence, which is why they have to do a little bit more to get the clarity up top. You have to ensure some sight lines down onto that area. You have to make sure suddenly no one's going to just swing their way up behind you.
Top floor has been cleared out. However, there is going to be C4s available on the side of Team One. My question is, I don't know exactly where those black guys are located. Probably have been taken care of already by Luke. Same would be for any yokais up top. And you see them playing all around the safe spaces just to make sure that no Nitro will suddenly rain into them to get them killed. And currently, they're being held in pocket by Neskin and Levy as well. Those will be crucial late on in the round. 50 seconds only left now. KDS sneaking up on those red stairs could be crucial if they do decide to push down that way. But he could also find himself being picked up first because he just got spotted by the Retero that came around the corner. And Redek will now hold off that rotation. There's no way he will be coming back up from those staircases anymore, so he needs to rotate to a new one.
30 seconds. Team One has been able to at least keep them at arm's length for a certain amount of time. At some point, MIBR are just going to have to do that thing that they've done quite well so far, which is charge into space. See what is above them, see what's offered to them. Alamau finally is able to try and take an early bite without being punished against MIBR here. They're still putting the pressure onto Zulu. They know they've only got a handful of seconds, so they've just got to try and throw themselves in, but Alamau has other ideas. Finds one more, digs themselves back in. This is where the pillar swings come through. There it is, the back line. It's 2 versus 2, but with only a handful of seconds, it is entirely Team One's to lose. They finally break that deadlock, break the mantle that MIBR have been able to build, and find their first round.
Very important here for Team One to find that round at least. You do not want to be headed towards a potential 6-0 in that first half. So Team One, they break that mold, they break the momentum just slightly, and it will be up to them now after they basically just stopped the 20-second execute that Team MIBR wanted to go for. I mean, they should at least get that round. And now is the time for Team One to go up to that top floor. Finally, we will be seeing it after they have gone reading twice and kitchen once. The bar will be coming through, and a castle will be brought out as well instead of a clash. Now, the clash was 6-picked. Philippox is currently debating whether or not he should swap to an operator that is more equipped to deal with it. But instead goes from the Maverick to the Yana. So still 2 grenades in pocket. Just a little bit more information game you can play. And to be fair, on this top floor, Maverick not really the best operator to have.
MIBR, you're still ahead. Things are still kind of smooth sailing. It was obviously a little bit of an offsite there, and sometimes offsites are the ones that actually hit the ground the best on the day, because it's the one that, you know, might be the little bit of the surprise factor. It turned into a late attempt at a push and a plant. You didn't really have the signs and the signals to say, well, we know what's going on. If you fully researched a hold, if you fully researched an idea, you kind of have a green light moment. It starts as a red, you do enough to get it to yellow and caution, and you can go under a caution, but you can only really go full sprint when it's green, and you got to make sure that they have that. And it's tougher to truly know that on a site that you've seen less, a site that you've experienced less here, and that could have been one of the factors that slowed them down. I guess Team 1 just have to try and put more pressure onto that game, and MIBR, I mean, keep doing what you're doing. To be honest, in my books, it has been so good.
Yeah, they definitely threw a bit of an oddball there towards the side of MIBR, but picking up that side on mining might not have been expected, and as a result, they slowed down. You just mentioned it. The question is, however, how well equipped will they be for that bar floor? There's actually going to be a camera outside onto that balcony. Philippox is being spotted out without he even knows, and could expect a potential jump out to come through. I don't think they're aware of the fact that Files is down there, however, as the camera is just spotting him and yellow pinging him right now. Oh, now they know, though. There is going to be a rappel up there, and that's actually the one that's going to go for it. It's a double jump out, and the diffuser will be dropped as Lagonis is going to be able to at least bring it back.
Raps, though, he's going to wait for this catch on Lagonis. They know he's there, and there it is. Perfectly positioned to at least bring a bit of balance back, but you look at the Hibana, you look at the Iana, gone, that's really going to limit how you can get the approach here. All of the hard walls, they're staying locked at this moment in time. The smokes could play a factor into a bit of a tricky and sneaky plant. It could get you some access and some entrance, but otherwise it's a very tough approach, this, without that very precious utility.
And definitely is. Levy just escaped with his life down there, by the way, as the grenade just locked in behind him, exploded right as he went through the rotate, so saved his life just barely. However, 3 members on the side of Team 1 up on that top floor. MIBR is starting to try and take some control. Still afraid, however, for potential rotates, flanks to come up. The cameras are only just being spotted out. That have still been located outside. It's a jump out to come through. Alamau misses the opportunity to go for the kill. However, goes for a pre-fire here. Raps will be able to pick up that kill as well. Brings it to a 3-on-2. MIBR yet again in the lead after, well, they basically got a 2-on-1 trade turned back into a 3-on-3. But that means that Cocktail Balcony is now clear. A player inside the freezer, a player inside planks. That's all that MIBR need to deal with now.
Pre-place C4 just underneath the window, and well, I'm not sure if Raps is fully comfortable. I think there's the call. There it is. He was trying to work out what the audio was. I think he might have been waiting for some of that. There's still the intel. There's still obviously that camera that was pinging pressure before, and as they wait for the shotgun, there's the swing in, there's the door closed, but there's another player around on the backside. It's a 1 versus nobody. Levy is able to lock it in just as the matter, and although 3 Team 1 players died outside of the map, it's the 2 that are in the core that are able to lock it in 3-2.
Yeah, I'm going to be running down jump out as well, because that basically described this round. 3 of them jumped out. Only 2 kills came of it, though, on the side of Team 1, but it was enough to slow down MIBR enough to force them to go for these jump-ins late on. And here you see it. Just the punishes that came through in the end as well. Raps being able to take out 2 of them, but unfortunately after not quick enough to get a reduct to shut down the English shotgun that was closed in his corner before he swung in. And that cost him his life, and potentially cost a round here on the side of MIBR. And now Team 1 is up 3-2 and are starting to bring it back. Kitchen again to be picked up here. A side that went horribly wrong for them the first time around they played it. Let's see if they have any new strategies to show us.
I think that's it, and what I sort of commented on before was the strategy didn't work. They handed too much ground away. They are leaning against that entirely, maybe too aggressively.
Yeah.
In the previous round, 3 people out the windows. It's not everybody's run-of-the-mill play. And, you know, obviously Alamau not quite being able to catch the 1 more kill, but at that point MIBR were a little bit wise to their let's hop out and find the fight game. They had themselves stacked up, and it becomes that argument of, well, we can still see more of that here in a very different way. It's a very different site, very different strategy, because you have the 2 tiers above it. You have all the extra ground to sort of set yourself up in and work downwards. You can see a lot of the pre-placed holes. It's not really a pre-placed hole, is it? It's like a pre-removed floor.
Yes, I think that's the better one.
That's the smarter way of saying these things.
Yeah. Which is technically still a hole.
Is a hole a thing, or is it a vacuum of space?
We're getting too deep into it. I didn't study.
Hey, there's a hole. It's the big double door inside just the swing on the coat room. They're going to see if they can tech themselves in, but they can't quite get an angle around the double window. It seems like MIBR is trying to cause a bit of a ruckus immediately onto the site, but they also still have bodies entering the top 2. You've got to try and clear down. Pitter-patter rainfall is the way I like to phrase it, because you start at the top and drip-drop your way all the way down. Though, in fairness, that's not what MIBR did last time. They just threw themselves into balcony and put most of their heat inside the place.
Yeah, but something we also saw in Villa, they had a very successful take on the bottom floor, but they decided to not repeat it, but go for a completely different approach. And that's due to the fact that, of course, if you do the same thing, there is the opportunity to go for a counter strat on the side. Okay, very bold to close that door right there with 2 players right in front of it, either way. Continuing the point, if you do the same thing twice, it gives the opportunity to go for a counter strat. So you need to change it up just ever so slightly to make sure that you keep them at bay. And as the grenade was being pulled the pin off, it's not being tossed in at the end, but it was enough to at least force Lagonis to fall back.
Yeah, I think they didn't want the expectation of the fight there more than they just wanted expectation. They wanted to try and force them back into a situation, which they've done, and that allows them to start doing this. Just over a minute, plenty of time to get their remodeling in, add to the lack of floor already there, and remove more of the panels to give themselves those deeper angles through towards the clarity. It is shepherding. It is forcing them into more uncomfortable situations, getting utility, as we're seeing there, to allow fools to start popping bits open. But Levy, he might be the man in the middle here. Still stuck inside Bakery, waiting for the first, finds it, can't quite get the second. Lukid gets revenge, but Habana gone, and suddenly that wall is so much worse.
Yeah, definitely will be a lot worse now. Smokes are still being popped in, and as I believe there could be a player, no, I'm not quite sure where KDS is, it was just checking on the overhead. Either way, he's down here, so he's holding that hatch, so he's stopping any potential hatch drop to come through, but again, they need to force themselves into the side. There's 25 seconds left on the clock. We've seen this before. As soon as there's too little time left for the side of MIBR, it's all going wrong, but 2 kills go away now. That means they only need to find 2 more, and potentially will force and will try to go for a plant right now as the timing is slowly starting to drip down. They definitely give the opportunity down here now. Lukid in the rotation is actually the one that has to plant. He's in a 1v2 situation now, just wraps for the cover for it. He drops, and that means it's all up to him right now. The shotgun comes around the corner, and it will be Team 1 that will clutch it out just barely as the plant does go down.
Literally could not be tighter onto the line there to get the confirmed plan. It's a statistic, but it's not one that is put with the W alongside. 3-2-3 in the second 2 versus X clutch that we had onto the site there itself. It was the start of, MIBR, they're doing it again. The grenade all the way across the kitchen towards the coat room is able to pull Alamau out of that position. They knew what they needed to get just to have some clarity on the place. As I said, it was shepherding. Without the Habana, it becomes much tougher because you have to be internal. You have to be inside the site to hold those angles, and that means it's then easier for the defenders that are in that position who have already set up their angles to lock you off. They couldn't quite get that. A 2 versus 1 as the other just had no choice but to hold F and look at the floor, and, well, it went the way it did. 3 apiece. Team 1 have been able to grab some very precious momentum before they turn over to their attacking half, and, well, MIBR, they obviously removed some of the control of the Nomad. They have the freedom to try and play with this Valkyrie as well, and that was a concern in my books because they are a team that has already shown they love exploring the map.
Yeah, and if you're looking over at the other side of Team 1, there is something missing, and it's the IQ. An operator that was very effectively used by the side of MIBR. They managed to take out most of the cameras before they dealt too much damage towards the side of MIBR themselves. Only once we saw a jump out that basically helped them in those 6 rounds. So, as there is no IQ on the board currently for Team 1, we might actually see MIBR make more use of the Valkyrie here than Team 1 was able to do.
That's it. I'm going to sort of put it onto the mantle that they had the last ban anyway of defenders. They could have got rid of the Valk if they wanted. They opted for the mirror. They're happy to sort of play around this, but it's that conversation we had of it's not just a matter of bring IQ, they've got a Valk and she's good on this map. It's what do we drop? And there's not really too much from this lineup. They all have their preferences. Obviously, Alamau on the Buck instantly, now that he's allowed to play, a hell of a Buck player. And there's a lot of terrifying vertical for him to try and put the pressure on the pace of heading between the skeleton key and the key that's actually just a gun full of bullets that only opens one thing, your opponent's. It is fast. It is very vivid as soon as it tries to absolutely blast and cover this game in its terrifying light. But how bright will it shine? That's down to Alamau, who so far hasn't quite been able to be that superstar player we highlighted before.
Yeah, not this map, definitely not. But just look at the lineup of MIBR. 2 Evo Eyes, 2 bulletproof cameras, 3 black eyes to be tossed out, and as well as some, Surya laser gates to block off some lines aside, or the bulletproof cameras for that matter, and these mute jammers. MIBR is playing this fully on the information game right here. They're trying to make sure that they know exactly what's happening in, outside, and around the building all at the same time, whilst making it impossible for the side of Team 1 to try and gain information on their own positions here. So MIBR really doubling down in that here. It's a whip gunfire from Reduct, and he will be punished by Laconis, and Team 1 will be having the first kill here.
That was sudden. Suddenly, Reduct has decided to lean in. Obviously, we saw the hatch above him already broken, so we thought he might be able to take the fight with the Buck. More cameras, more angles, more ideas, and more knocking on the door. The attempt on the C4 here, now obviously that has been burnt. The Surya laser gate isn't going to be able to be destroyed by its own utility, or destroy it. It gives you this moment where you can sort of play against it. There's the rip blow from the Valkyrie camera that's on the back side of the corner. Lukid gets Neskin, and suddenly things are starting to slip a little bit further away. Philippox is on a slow creep up behind Alamau. The longer Alamau's here, entirely on ping. Well, doesn't matter. Levy, he's got that one up. He's got that game we said Team 1 do very well before, which is keeping an eye on the loose players. They make sure that the ground that they cover on their attack is generally always watched.
3 players inside Cigar right now. I'm still wondering if that one Valkyrie camera is still up currently, because otherwise that's going to be a lot of valuable information as Alamar rotates down to the bottom floor to try and put some pressure on and potentially rotate towards the wide area. But as Lukid is in a position to open up with that DMR to create these long angles, it's Team 1 currently trying to find a way into the site. They're being challenged everywhere. Flashbangs are coming through, and there's still an Alva on the back side right here that will slow them down and at least rip them apart as soon as they do start coming through that one doorway.
Well, it's a swing round on the opposite side of the balcony. Here comes the drive. Team 1 all the way across the front of the bar, just catches the edge, but Alamau, he's opened up. It's a Maestro that goes huge on the back line, a 1 versus 1, barely any time, a pre-fire from Raps, and MIBR just clutch on under the onslaught of Team 1.
And that is the information game, ladies and gentlemen. They had cameras everywhere inside the building. As soon as they dropped those hatches, MIBR knew exactly where every single one of those Team 1 members were. They know exactly where they were pushing from. They knew exactly when they would swing the door and when they had to go for the pre-fire. And if you then keep the patience, if you keep the calm for your team and the comms, and you have one person saying, now, go for that pre-fire, that is how you end up with these kills. And that is how MIBR now manages to get their 4th round on the board. This next round is going to be a little bit less information game. We do see the Echo still coming out, but not the Valkyrie. We do see more denial coming through. And we are playing, of course, on that kitchen. And we all know that as soon as you do lose the bakery side of things, that suddenly becomes really hard to stop a plant from happening. So you need that verticality, which of course is being able to be made by Raps in a shotgun. But you also need things to throw in. Either the yokai drone, the smoke canisters, or a nitro to make that happen. So they need to swap up their composition just a little bit here to assure themselves they can stop any quick plan from Team 1 to come through.
I think the eyes that we sort of have here, obviously, as well, if you're talking about the quick plant, they have the Echo Cams. And on kitchen, I love seeing them because there's so many places to hide them. You have those irritating beams that sort of separate some of those service stations inside around the sink of coffee. You've got the shelves on the backside as well. Occasionally you'll see them thrown onto small bake. You see one drifting its way all the way towards the opposite side as well, as the Echo himself is sort of a frontline fighter right now. And I guess that's the risk and the trade-off is at a certain point, if that Echo's still alive, he is the biggest problem on the map.
Yeah, That's it, right? And you see some of the teams as well, they know exactly where it's still clear, and as soon as the pressure comes down to the side, the Echo is the first one to just dip out and go all the way up to the top floor to use those Yokai drones to its advantage. Right now, Team 1, playing from that top floor. You said it before, they work their way down just like MIBR did, because it at least gives you the feeling of security. You know that no one is still left right above you that can hunt you down or at least come down on a late flank from one of those staircases you just took under control. And as you do that, you only have to deal with the horizontal play at the end, with just the players on the side and right around it. It's just a lot easier to play around that way, and Alamau does open up a little bit with the skeleton key to play towards that first floor. They are trying to hunt down anybody who would still be up there, but quickly will realize that that doesn't seem to be the case with MIBR right now.
That's it. KDS has been able to be droned all the way down to the bottom of White Stairs, and this is where it becomes a very particular fight. They're eyeing themselves up for this freezer take. They're eyeing themselves up for what is the pressure now onto Felipox here, and probably more importantly, the player, the Jaeger, just round on the side, Lukin. He is in that power position around, just chilling in the cocktails, enjoying himself, and hoping that he isn't entirely pushed away. Alamau is just going to use the freedom that's offered by the watch on either side of the stairs. Without the Nomad, it's got to be done with guns and drones, and the guns and drones are making sure that he has some relative safety. The C4s are going to pop up. He's well aware of that, and the Buck, being the player instead of the Sledge, gives them that little bit of an edge and a little bit of width towards his current active workspace.
Meanwhile, Samuel's being used to open up the hatch, and this gives him the opportunity to go for a drop soon. But first, still doing some preparing work. Just make sure that you check all the angles before you go for that drop. And as you can see, most of the MIBR members have been forced off this side. That is purely Alamau, opening up every single thing, every single ceiling, without any of the C4s being able to catch him. A flank, however, on its way. There's going to be a Reduct that goes all the way to that top floor and is trying to strike where it hurts the most as soon as they start to execute on that hatch, as Lagona's just dropped, I believe.
A wonderful rotate, and this is what I said with the limit of that Nomad. There it is, the shotgun's hopped up, gets one, swings for the second, can't quite find it. Neskin, he's frozen out with Alamau and Felipox finding a fight themselves in red corridor. Repicked up, and Reduct is going back to the circle on the hatch right behind them. He's going to try and hit them from the surprise angle, but with KDS getting one, it's an important take. Hops down, dropped off. It's in the freezer. He can't quite find the rotate, though. He can't get the prompt. He's sprinting to try and hold F for pre-fire, but he is out of time!
What a play that was. Just that drop at the very last moment is going to be crucial. The case gets dropped. The rotation not made in a way that it's easy to jump over, so the time runs out in the end. And MIBR, they find themselves on their 5th round right now. Beautifully played there. Redux absolutely important in that round. The right moment to rotate, the right choice to drop that hatch, and plenty of time wasted.
Oh, that Nomad ban. It's just been a limiting factor. As I said, at that point, we had, during the Buck opening everything up, people watching both staircases, people ensuring nobody could slip past. But you cannot do that forever, especially if you need to try and put the pressure onto the site itself. It was so perfectly timed. The freedom, the slow creep, the use of the Echo to lead him up as well, to make sure he could swing that top staircase and not get caught all the way up to the top. I mean, it was that pitch-perfect play. Lost his life doing it, not being able to rotate through what was open there before. If that had been open and prepped, that could have been the coulda, woulda, shoulda.
If the Buck would have shot one more shot at it, it would have been a rotation they could have gone through. They could have gone for the plant, and suddenly there was not that much they would have been able to do there. And MIBR, they find themselves now 2 rounds away from a full 3-pointer, and with that, start to work towards a potential qualification for the playoffs, which of course will happen right after the group stages.
Do you know what I love?
What do you love?
How many bulletproofs we've seen since the change for it to become able to be moved.
And now, it's able to be moved, but what people thought was going to be OP was the EMP darts that's in it. But we've not seen too many successful uses of them.
3 bulletproofs.
Yes, but this is what I'm telling you. It's the information game they like to play. Right now, they have the Banshees, they have the 3 bulletproofs, they have the 3 black eyes, plenty of cameras, plenty of utility to quite literally slow down the enemy as they approach, but at the same time make a lot of noise that gives them that information. And that's exactly how MIBR like to play this map. They want to know where everybody is at all times, and this setup allows them to do so.
Team 1. They are 1 round separate from the potential of being 2-0'd here by MIBR, who have put on a tour de force performance. They've made sure that they keep the pace hot, they hit the ground running, and they haven't really allowed Team 1 to breathe. They are just always that little step ahead, that little bit more involved, and whether it's the 4 guns firing heavily and Fools being able to work in that support structure position, a little bit less pressure, either way, you got to give it to them. Now though, it's not quite over. There's still some time. There's still two timeouts you have. It's a tongue twister. And it's going to start with a little bit of pressure underneath this time.
It definitely is. I'm looking over as well just to see how the top down is currently developing, but still a lot of members of MIBR still on that top floor, just roaming around, and Team 1 looking to find an entry first. That is going to be their prime objective here. They need to clear out that top floor so they can work on the verticality to push and flush out these players that are inside of reading to ensure a plan comes through. However, so far, not really successful. Shield, however, has been left abandoned right here, and some pretty fires from the bottom do scare a player quite a bit. There is Redux, I believe, just dropped the hatch. So we have all 5 players now actually on the side's floor, and no one left on that top floor with 57 seconds left on the clock. So there's plenty of time for Team 1, but it's starting to run low a little bit.
Well, I think this is the game that, to be fair, I quite like to see here, and I complimented the round where Team 1 did it, is you can hand territory over, fine, but don't just give it to them without the fear of you coming back round, and they demonstrated how good they are on the previous round, just slipping away. Run out of bullets, couldn't quite get the full fight. Levy suffers a little bit. Redux swings his way out onto that mining window, and there it is, the big rotations. oNe is going to see if they can offer some support, some sustenance, as Lagona sees if he can stick it in the meantime. 20 seconds, it's got to be now, and Felipox on the far side, he's looking to rotate all the way up there post-plant, 4 versus 4. With Raps going down, the smoke's off the board. So is the Maverick, though. A bigger loss to lose Raps, however. There's a bit of a firing line, and the sufferer is Felipox on the far side. Lagonas may be damaged, but Reduct, he's creeping his way closer and closer. Can't quite get the clean shot. Doesn't need it. Fools retaken. There's Christmas Doorway. Swings its way around. Fools is holding on. Not for very long. Team 1 keep themselves battling back 5-4.
Good plan coming through there. They cleared out the site, they flushed them out, they weren't able to play on it, and as a result managed to get the plant down. And after that, what you see is that, well, the retake is attempted. They do get quite far. If only the player that was outside still on the balcony was picked up on that very first gunfight, it could have been a completely different story. It would have been a 2-on-1 situation at that moment in time as the defuse was happening. And MIBR, they're still around ahead, still in a position where they can, of course, push for that 3-pointer as Team 1 is looking desperately to try and find their first map. So first of all, they can push it towards the decider, but second of all, get a point, which is so important.
For being a quiet player, and to be fair, playing the support role he usually is, Lagonas is having a huge game right now. He is sort of filling the missing link. They needed to all be firing, they needed to all be finding fights, and it's not quite working out for them. The fact that he's sort of the top KD for the team, it sort of waves 2 flags. It's one that he's stepping up.
Yeah.
He's stepping into the position, but 2, you still sort of need a bit more showing of the usual guns, the usual frag capabilities of Neskin and Valamau to sort of put something back in to MIBR, who is, you know, sort of, is their more standard approach. Everybody who's performing in the way that they should is, and that's the unease about this current Team 1 structure.
It definitely is. And if you looked at the stats of the last game as well, where Team 1 had every single statistic going their way except for the actual round count, it also shows that something wasn't really quite going right at that moment in time. Either way, map 2 underway. We are still quite close. 5-on-4 is the current score that we're dealing with here, and Team 1 is looking to equalize that scoreline here to put themselves up into a position where they can fight for a map point as well. Whereas MIBR, they're looking to fight for a match point instead, as they already have that first map on the board. Again, information being played. Bulletproofs, Evil Eyes, and also Black Eyes to be on that board are going to be aiding them right here in their push, or in their hold rather, as it is Team 1 that approaches to go for yet another attack.
Alamau droned ahead, trying to make quick work, and once again wants to dig in from underneath the hold itself. The Skeleton Key can cause these problems, and thought he might be gifted with an oNe punch there, but otherwise nobody is currently playing. There are pings coming through, but nothing that he can actually actualize into some pressure. He wants a freebie before he starts trying to find ones for his own, but they'll know he's there. They'll know he's cooking up a storm, and they're not confident enough to push back against it. The longer he's there, though, the more he starts to open, and the thinner those beams they can stand on get.
Yeah, for sure, but not really anything really being tossed in here by the side of Alamau. Using that skeleton key, very limited for so far in this round, but as these stuns are, you know, the actual spots are coming through, it's a grenade to get tossed in as well, and so are the skeleton keys to be used to try and get rid of Pals, who's out and continues to dance all around the side as Reader comes in from above and gets a double kill. It's KDS and Alamau that fall. It's a double entry here for the side of MIBR, and that might just put them onto a match point here.
Neskin, I don't know if he was supposed to be in the position to watch that drop off there, but the Jaeger has been able to find his rotation, hit himself straight into the library, and take out the two players that are inside, and suddenly that is all of that structure, that is all of that pulled away from them. Neskin's going to see if he can at least get the body back with Lagona slipping his way around the opposite, but otherwise that Jaeger has already done so much work and so much time being wasted. And one more for the way out the door. Reduct is able to find one. He's looking to see if he can get a swing onto Zulu, but at this point he is just wasting their time. Can he waste another? No. But with 30 seconds left, they've got to see if they can pick themselves back up here. The 4 versus 2 situation. The diffuser is back into their hands, but look at what's been done on the site. Nothing.
Grenade drops there. Levy's going to be able to at least find one, but not two. Fouls locks it off, and it's Reduct with an amazing flank, first of all, to drop down at the right moment in time, get the 2 important players down from below, but after that, waste that time, find a third, and bring it down to the last 30 seconds. And that is the 2nd round in a row. You could almost say that was won on the back of a flank of Reduct. And now, you know, that is when a Nomad ban starts to hurt you, because Reduct, for the 2nd time in a row, has been able to just come into the side, pick up kills, and win the round, lock it off. And as a result right now, MIBR, they have 2 rounds available to themselves to lock off this game and get a full 3-pointer up onto their scoreline, and with that, of course, put themselves over Team 1.
Ooh, it's a bit of an unexpected result, I think, for a lot of people, just based in the fact that Team 1 were, for some people, the tournament favorites. They were that team that had that lead-in capabilities, and here MIBR are just showing a better show of force. They've just been able to keep an entire handle on the play that Team 1's doing, and there's little moments, there's little connections of that Team 1 that had that Cinderella story run of that sort of breakaway, but here they just cannot quite have the same 5-handed swing that is otherwise coming through from MIBR. 1 round separates them from the 3 points, and 2 separates Team 1 for fighting for anything in what could turn into such a precious showdown.
It could definitely be, especially as Team 1 would find themselves at the 4th place in the group after this game, and that is definitely not a place they would like to be in. Within striking distance of Na'Vi, who are currently, of course, last, having won all their, lost all their maps. Now,
I'm out! Gotta reload!
Team 1, what are you going to be able to show? Skeleton key being used to open up some double doors is nothing too exciting, but we are, of course, in that kitchen, and that means that horizontal control is needed at some point. The earlier you manage to slow down the defenders, or at least scare them for rotating around these open spaces, the better it is, because the more they will stay put in their actual spots. As a result, Alamau later, of course, will be using that skeleton key to flush out the site yet once again, just to make sure that they can go for a plant. However, this time around, they need to make sure that the hatch is still occupied and no one can just drop down it and lock down the route for them, because that's exactly what Reduct did the last time here in the kitchen. He's still in a position where he can easily just go up some staircases here if he's not being held down at gunpoint.
Waiting. Waiting. Did they turn away from the camera? Oh, they did.
Yeah, they're just still around there, though. So the camera is still giving the sound cue, so Reduct still knows someone is up there.
He's in the train. They're waiting for him to leave the train.
You saw that? Their yokai is being used now, so if we believe Fowles is bringing one in to try and support. Actually, no, he's just relocating them to stop a potential platform coming down, because they also realize now, okay, the last thing what they did was actually go, as a grenade in the meantime kills Raps, was try and go through the hatch, plant right in the corner. We had nothing to stop them then. If they use those yokais now to stop that from happening, that might actually grant them a round win without Reduct having to go for a big flank.
I just sort of wanted that pre-place to pop off there. They had all the eyes on everything. Maybe it got caught out by a skeleton key and I missed it, but I saw it so perfectly placed up. Redact. Hey man, where you going? Oh, to the top floor? Cool. This is exactly what you did last time.
Jump in.
Just get the audio cue on the jump in. Oh, couldn't quite get the lock in on the fight there. Levy, he was not going to fall for the same trick that they suffered previously. And now Bakery, they fight back and Falls is all that's left. It's an Echo. What are you going to do? I said you're more dangerous as time goes on, but without anybody else on your team, didn't see the feet, I think.
No, he did not.
Didn't get anything else. Team 1 are flawless. They're not quite done yet. 6-5.
And they held the flank.
They held a flank.
That's the most important part here. That is what cost them the round the last time around. They were just as dominant as they were before that, but then Redux was able to sneak up. Then he was able to go for the flank and stop the plant from happening, and he was almost allowed to do that again. He heard the hop in. However, it seemed like they were aware as well as the drone, the flank drone, was taken out. And that probably gave it away that he was up those stairs and potentially looking to go for a big flank there. But it's not the end yet. MIBR still have another match point up their sleeves here. And it will be going towards the reading room yet once more. That means top floor, important. That is something they need to waste time on but cannot afford losses on, I think, is the moral of the story there. So you'll see players drop down around the minute mark or earlier if the pressure becomes too much. However, you also got to be too careful that you're not putting too many players up onto that top floor, because otherwise you might see Team 1 just rush the side and get a quick plant in, because they have been able to do that before as well.
Team 1, one round separates you from being able to pull anything from this round, or even not even that, just getting a chance at pulling anything from this showdown, one that is becoming more and more precious as Damon Kira getting in their fight on the opposite stream on XG, which has already shown that they have a lot of strength. To be fair, they did come in for a lot of people as NA's favorite, so you got a lot of favorites in this group.
There's definitely a lot of favorites. Same goes for Damon Kia, the favorites, of course, of APAC as a whole after their performance in the last 2 majors. Is it now time there is going to be an APAC team in the finals? Well, of course we don't know. We'll find out at some point after the groups and playoffs. Either way, we are in round number 12 yet once more. It took 12 rounds to decide map number 1, and it potentially will take 12 rounds to decide this one. However, Team 1 is willing to go to overtime. They need to go to overtime to push us to Oregon, the decider, to potentially find themselves with 2 points here. More importantly, they need to find just 1. Right now, that's their first priority.
Alamau, steady approach here across the top. He hasn't, again, been able to have the biggest impact so far, but as long as he can have something, then that'll alleviate some of the pressures for Lagonis and KDS, who have otherwise been consistently battling back. It's a pretty even spread, to be fair, of most players KD in this game. That's the thing. A lot of people across both teams are still steering around that 1 average. They're looking at matching everything, and that trade game has been so consistent. The cause problems, and we need to bite back pretty much instantly, is just the MO. Ooh. Zapped by the bulletproof camera, and we said you don't see it often, you don't, but there's at least 1 usage.
RC taken out, second one is being pushed in, however, that will blow up one of those bulletproofs, so 1 PC utility less to work with here, and grenades are being tossed in on the white stairs as well. I don't think anybody's there, no, currently not at the moment. It doesn't mean that no one will be rotating up, as Raps in the meantime, you don't see it, but was taking that position back. Files still below, has an opportunity to use some nitros as they're being tossed out left and right. Still 5-on-5, and there's 80 seconds left on the clock, and top floor control still hasn't been completely taken by the side of Team 1. That's exactly what they're doing right now, but the shots are being whipped right here, and it's going to be a trade kill with Alamau getting the very first, but MIBR coming off better here with 2 instead.
That's it. Lagonis is desperately looking for this last player inside Wood. Pre-fired, found it, and locked it off. 3 versus 3 now. They've suffered a huge amount of damage, Alamau as well, so it means that any fight, especially against the smoke with 3 canisters still in pocket, and surprisingly a Banshee, they're going to see what else they can try and piece together. They just have to hold off. MIBR have a bit of an arm's length. They've got a little bit of a stretch here, and as the hop is about to come round, it's waiting behind the pillars. Are they behind number 1, number 2, or number 3? Well, actually 2 of them, and that's the surprise when you lift the cup. You're going to find more than 1 aggressive treat.
Oh, grenade!
That's how you go fishing in some extreme parts of the world, and that was definitely the biggest fish they potentially caught today. Still a smoke, one more canister, and Raps the next to suffer. Caught though, Lagonis on the drop down. There's the player, and there's Alamau, and he is absolutely removed from this engagement. Neskin, Alamau goes a little bit elsewhere, finds himself into laundry, 10 seconds, everything is on the shoulders. He pre-fires one, they've pulled back, they have the other side of Zulu, and a hot camera reveal. MIBR are the ones able to take both maps. The full fat 3 points are theirs, and Team One look a little bit worried towards the bottom of a very tense group.
Yeah, currently still on 2 points. They have a small advantage to not be in that 5th place, but it's not the first time they have been in a situation like this, Team One. Of course, they made a miracle run happen in Mexico, but more importantly, MIBR take the full 3 points here today. With that, they almost put themselves in a good position to at least secure themselves for playoffs, potentially even fight for that top 2 spot. Who knows? We will find out in the next couple of days, because there is still a lot of games that will be going on. But MIBR, against most beliefs, have been able to best Team One here.
It was a very good showing from MIBR. All of them were firing. Every single player found their way into the fight, and that is, for them, a game day how it should be by the book. They made sure their support was driving the support structure. They made sure they had the 4 of them popping off, and that was the one thing, well, I say Alamau, but to be fair, all of Team One can quite get was their standard face. Usually it is 2 huge gunners leading a good mix of a backline, but today it couldn't quite find that piercing tip.
The information game on the side of MIBR was too strong, so was Redux and his flanks. 2 rounds he basically managed to single-handedly carry in to the side of MIBR. But of course those flanks also wouldn't have been possible without the information that MIBR was playing. So overall, very well played Kafe, and well-deserved 3-pointer.
We're going to go to a break before we're back with our analysts in the control center, I think Milos calls it.
Command center.
Command center after this.